1, 2, 1, 2. T.O.M. Teachers of Maat. Who am I today? The scribe, been forever, but the name changes with the times. I come from a place where space is home. I go into realms where your face is gone. A change gon' come. As a teen, hypnotized deep in a sleep, party and slumber. 11 life path number, a life of death that's rebirth. Recall realities to re-emerge. Soul purge, I'll lend you frequency like loan words. Before I teach, I'll spit a poem first. Step on stage, set the stage, car walking, set ablaze, divine fire. The body is divine attire, sown from words. Sound frequency, awakening dreams. Don't pinch me every day I wake up, it's a home birth. Start from zero to become the heroes. Cycles of time causes expansion of mind. Potential is exponential. Gain XP, what your power made of. I've had to face self, face to fate, a double fate. What will I make of the present? I'm just trying to pet heaven. Twice great, 2 arms up is none to wave. It's nothing to wave. God separate the waters from the waters. Genesis 1 and 6. See, that source is thousands of years prior to a Bible even existing. It's called the pet word for heaven. Watchers of noon, primordial, pre-ordered, bringing order in order. Its law the scales will represent. A double gift, re-present, Ray is present. Ra, amen to the God inside. The crown will glow as consciousness grows. So what assignment are you on? I do my best to do my best. Lead with the left, heart out my chest. By a step out of the flesh. On my crown is the Nemez, Corona shining. I do my best to do my best. Lead with the left, heart out my chest. By a step out of the flesh. On my crown is the Nemez, Corona shining. Serpent mind winding in alignment. Straight from Orion, the origins. Dig into the root, Kim originals, the oracle speaking. Your aura is gleaming. The sons of God, Amen, Ra. Who can't afford a reason to fall below your own means, meaning reaching beyond the firmament ceiling. I see linguistics tricking us deep into sleeping. The way we live inception, I must be dreaming. Doubles, double L, square root, mirrors, reverse the image. My grip was slipping. Almost forgot the point of the mission. Statements point out all the contradictions. Blatant truth lives where my eye is foundation. Yeah, co-founded a nation. Dictionary study spells can be scary. Etymology, this here is completion. Cycle circles, dualism, wisdom. I peddle flowers. 2 eyes are watching to see through the double realm I'm healing. Never out of what's within him. Infinite reasons, just like my brother Arcad. Always remain calm against demons. Death culture, to be alive here, it's a lie here. They crossed us into thinking that death isn't living. The lies are falling through my palms, arm wide, holes in my hand. The Pope's in command, I demand the throne back. Ancient teachings, I'm a throwback. Picture that, see this moment here is cold that. So black, I see through lies. Why they hold that, ocean motions. I'm flowing through noon in the boats of consciousness. My tongue is rolling, planting seeds, sowing. Knee of speaking, untangled quantum DNA, spitting frequencies. I hear Christians scream hallelujah. And this ain't that the name of God is God. I must bring the order back, the scales are tipping. In the court of Allah, moonshine, Tehuti is Yah. This here is Ptah, bulldozing. The one chosen, focus. When the light hits you, just open like lotus. Melt your mind when in mind time is frozen. Blow minds, my mind is golden. Coat me in gold, I've got a gold coat round me like I'm T.O.M. Like his, when you spell my name, put 3 lines in. Scribe, presenting the law's findings. Who's he? I me, an echo of Tehuti. Yes, I do my best to do my best. Lead with the left, heart out my chest. By a step out of the flesh. On my crown is the Nemez, Corona shining. We do our best to do our best. on moving. Keep on moving. Keep on moving. Keep on moving. I had to relearn what a brother is. I had to relearn what a sister is. I had to relearn what a mother is. There is no other him. Watch your mouth, fix your lips. I am learning to compartmentalize what I find with my mentals. I could have been labeled mental voices in my head. If I speak to the wrong one, I'll be diagnosed schizophrenic. Creating pollution you can't escape from with Captain Planet. Where's Captain Planet? And it's exactly how they planned it. It's insanity, stayed in a state of sanity. But I'm the scribe, keep a record on the record, I break records. This, that, medu, nature, echo, living, lively, times 3, Trinity. We are not the same, not even similar. Plant the seed, a man receive excellence, adoration, testaments, evaluation, literally. The love is real, yet they be hating. Salutations, I wait to master patience. Acting lackadaisy on your facts, I'm backed by conscious beings. I am free, can't lock the wings in. The diction is firm, call me men. A man 3 in 1, erection, protection, firm. Spitting life into who I speak to like sperm. Creation is a who I earned. The right to fully see it through. The heart as I rise through. Manu, Akut, lost it when I had to find you. I'm through, times 2, dualism, we will align soon. As I meditate in my room, it becomes a space of pure truth aligned with my eyes. Verbiage is time for more than the 2 eyes. I can see the veil underneath that other veil. Focus when I am locked in. I don't need a cell. Tell me you don't see the traps. Tower power over enemies, frozen over hell, reversing spells. Fell from the skies, the body is disguised. If you needed a sign, well this is it. I hope you read between the lines, left, right. After the first step, I write what's left in me. This is destiny, keep on moving, especially if you find blockage. No amount of pushback will stop this. This will get capped in stone, they cannot top this. Pyro, fire, Ba is my attire. Inspire the ones chosen, the ones open, the ones spoken. From times when life was once spoken. Enchantments, Nesu, double tongue in motion. Give, receive, keep moving and move for keeps. Keep it real, keep the master key. I had to master me. Mirror glass shattered in my dreams. I didn't like the image till I realized I am the image of the image. I'm here for keeps, keep your distance. Social gimmicks are stories told within the hieroglyphics. Mystics, just keep on living. We're gifted. Our stories told within the hieroglyphics. A language living, just keep on living. Keep on moving. Keep on moving. Keep on moving. Keep on moving. Keep. I had to relearn what a brother is. I had to relearn what a sister is. I had to relearn what a mother is. There is no other him. Watch your mouth, fix your lips. Yeah, motivate a nation. Stepping out the spaceship, causing a spaceship. Faced with revealing the spells within this matrix from the Masons. But I'm the architect. Best respect, I can architect. Rule your rulership, I hold the heck. Control my thoughts, still move when the game is paused. We speak heck up, this is the best of Medu Necha, bars like Wi-Fi, we're connected. Always on time, frequency and flow through frequency. I know the power I hold in my throat. Creation, destruction, with every single thing I've spoke. Enter, netter, curt, show your worth. Heal from all the hurt, not a singer, best believe I hold a note. Read between the lines, you're not really lost in that. I hope you find exactly what you are looking for. This is more than words, taught myself to heal myself. I come from the dirt, no time for slacking or bad habits. Sad tactics of bringing mad tragic mental processes that lack passion. Spit fire, black dragon, school of hard knocks, send you backpacking. My eyes, when this appears, it's like magic. The fact is, when it's wartime, we go savage. Shield of armor 720, prevent backstabbing all the fiends of good-hearted beings. They don't suit the role, they lack the fashion. So just keep on moving. Keep on moving.
Atef, peace and love, everybody. Can y'all hear me? How my mic sound?
We can hear you, good brother.
What's up? What's up? Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Teachings of Maat Study Guide Sunday. Today's topic is deaf culture. To be alive here is a lie here. Before I introduce everybody on the panel, we will begin as we do every week with our beautiful affirmation. On the count of three. 1, 2, 3. Unki in Maat, Un in S, Nintet or Set in Maat, Min Hepa Pet in Maat, Her in Hu Kui, Per Iku. I live for Maat. I exist within her. I do not speak in the place of Maat. Every day I advance towards Maat. My being is surrounded in darkness. I come forth as conscious light. Peace, Hotep. Peace, everybody on the panel. To introduce everybody on the panel, we have the great General Ahati Maat. Ahati Maat was taught under the great Tehuti Amenhotep Ra. He has been a serious student and teacher of Kemetic culture and history for several years. He has written multiple books, including the textbook called Journey of Your Soul series, essays, and articles. Furthermore, he hosts in-person and online classes, weekly podcasts, and periodically creates documentaries. He also has experience in public speaking and academic debating, and he is responsible for the creation of this weekly study guide. Next, we have the great scribe Ptah Aten Tehuti. Is a writer, poet, spoken word artist, audio producer, and engineer, healer and spiritual advisor, consultant, and business creator. He is a master student of the Natiru, a true follower and protector of Maat, a scribe of Tehuti and Maat. He studies under the master teacher, Saba Tehuti Amenhotep Ra. For the scribe, quality always outweighs quantity. He enjoys observing reality and incorporating these observations into his writings and creations to assist in awakening the dormant DNA and reversal of negative hypnosis. Next, we have the mighty Menkhu array. Menkhu specializes in training, educating youth workers, counselors, and educators about arts, culture, and history. He travels the world to experience how people live, and he shares it with everyone who is interested in learning from the research he has done. Menkhu has a master's degree in entertainment and media business and has been working in the music industry and with nonprofit agencies providing program planning and promoting concerts and community events in the Madison area for over 30 years. During that time, he has facilitated the following innovative after-school programs for Madison School Community Recreation, including Hip Hop 101, Music Production 101, and MP4 music programs for youth. And I am the presenter for the night, the great Atef Maat, the chairman of the organization and the Tehuti. Teachings of Maat, I am a master student of the great Tehuti Amenhotep Ra, and the host of this weekly study guide, Teachings of Maat, true-hearted follower based on truth and ancestral artifacts of the religious opinion and the love of my people unconditionally, and dedicated to learning the metal netta and a loyal defender of Maat. Peace and love. Welcome everybody to a beautiful show tonight. What's up? Peace, everybody. Can y'all hear me?
What's up, brother?
Yes, peace, Hotep, everyone. Brother Menkhu Ara, peace to you, good brother. If you would like to say anything while I set up some of these support that we got throughout the week.
Yeah, I want to share something I discovered recently that I think is pretty powerful. It goes like this. I have glorified the law, Ma'at, which embraces the divine principle. I know that it exists there. Ma'at is also my bread. I drink her dew. With her, I form a complete being. This is from Queen Hatshepsut. So I wanted to share that. Peace and love to the brothers on the panel. Peace and love to the chat. Anki and Ma'at. It's an honor and it's a pleasure to be here. We had a wonderful pod class with the master teacher Saba Tehuti on Friday. I'm excited for Atef's presentation and teaching tonight, and looking forward to whatever comes out of this teaching tonight. And I will pass.
I don't know what's going on, bro. Peace, Ahati. How your sound is, brother?
I'm trying to fix it, brother. How do I sound?
Sound good. How does my sound? How do I
You sound great. You sound good.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to your presentation, Death Culture. And you got the Tom who crucified on a wooden stake. So Atef will be chopping off heads tonight with his information. Support the brother.
That is
there it is.
Scribe right there. Look at that beautiful picture. That's Scribe right there. That's the architect. Hey, look, that's all I had for him. I said, Scribe, I don't know what. It's all I Death Culture. That's it. I just got the title for you, brother. That's it.
That's all I need, good brother. Perfect title. It's going to be an excellent class. Peace and love to everyone in the chat. Shout out to Malkia Wa Mungu. Hotep to you. The first one in the chat. Peace and love to you. Schema Uno. Peace and love to you. First time I've seen you in the chat. Welcome to the T.O.M. The wonderful Angela Gates says love to all the goddesses and gods in the chat. Absolutely. All right. Carolina with the Ankh and the wing says Hotep Maat, Nefer Netters, and Netter Etz. So as always, before we get started, I'll show the support that we receive throughout the week. And the way to support, of course, is Cash App and PayPal, teachings of Maat. And this is how you support the T.O.M. So we can continue to keep bringing this high-level information to you all, in the way that we do it. So PayPal, Cash App, teachings of Maat. All right, and I'll go ahead and show my screen. All right, so the brother Maharu, who you see in the chat, who is also, well, he goes by Maharu in the chat, so that's how you'll see him. And he was having some issues with Cash App and PayPal, so he reached out to me and he said, hey, how can I still support you all without Cash App and PayPal? So we found a way to make that happen, and I imported it through the Cash App. So this is from Maharu. So shout out to you.
That was real loud.
Real loud. There we go.
Everybody, I'm trying to get it right. Gotta give Maharu his hand clap. Shout out to you, Maharu. We appreciate the support, good brother.
Yeah, absolutely. So peace and love to you. So this goes to show, there's no real excuse as to why we can't support this great information. So shout out to you, great brother, for leading by example in that way. All right, next we have Nook Poo. He sends 333 for Heka'u Ma'at. Shout out to you, Nook Poo, for your consistency as well. You're consistent every week, and you usually send multiple supports. So Tua and adoration to you, great brother. All right, next we have, who is in the chat with us, the wonderful Angela Gates, who sends $10, and she is always showing support. In many ways as well. So she's here in our live stream with us. She leaves comments on the videos as well. She's always there in the Discord meetings that we have every single month. So shout out to you, sister, for your excellent consistency and discipline with Maat. So peace and love to you. Shout out to Big Vapes in the chat. Peace and love to you. Oh, and speaking of the Discord community, I do want to show that we do have our Discord community this coming up Thursday, the 29th at 4 p.m. Pacific time. So once you click the Discord link, which is in the bio, once you click that link, you'll be added to our community. And right here where you see the arrow pointing to community meetings is where we will be live, and you'll see it in the Discord where you can just come in and build with us. It usually turns into a building session. It's great. And you get to communicate with the wonderful brothers and sisters who are live with us and that from these live streams. So be sure to join us this Thursday, 4 p.m. Pacific time. All right. Our Spotify. So also make sure you're subscribed to our Spotify as well. Run those numbers up over there. We're slowly but surely adding all of these live streams to the Spotify so you can just listen to them. And it's just cut to where you listen straight to the teaching. So all of this prior and all of what's after is cut out. So it's just complete. There's just the teachings on the Spotify. So be sure to follow us there. And all these links are in the bio. And the great brother Ahati also posted the our link that has all of our links, all of our social links on one place. You can hit that link there, the flow code, or in your browser, you can type in teachingsofmaat.com, and it'll take you to our one hub where you'll find everything. So it's absolutely beautiful. All right. We're also on Rumble. We are live streaming simultaneously right now on YouTube and also on Rumble. And that link is also in the bio. You can also get there through the website, right? So teachingsofmaat.org. Once you go to teachingsofmaat.org, it's let me stop showing this so I can show you my screen. All right, so it's teachingsofmaat.org right here. First thing I want everyone to do, if you're new here, is I want you to, of course, download this affirmation, join our Discord community. Here's our membership for when you want to join us as a membership. Take your support to the next level and help us build, because we're building brick by brick, building up this Aku, which is the word for pyramid. And everyone is needed, everyone is necessary, and whatever skill or talent that you have, we can most definitely utilize you to help continue to build this foundation of Ma'at that we are doing. So reach out to us through this messaging system here, and let us know. Say, hey, I want to join the T.O.M, and we'll set that up. So here is the mailing list as well. So once you hit your email address in here, you'll be added to our newsletter. Right, and it's beautiful. It's packed full of a lot of information. There's summaries from the previous classes, an image to also summarize the classes, and you'll get this every single week. And this is how we also one of two ways that we send out mass information to everyone. So it's between this newsletter and between our Discord. So those are the two ways that you'll receive information. Our Discord is much faster because everything is live there, and we can all communicate back and forth with each other. So this newsletter here is excellent because when you're new, you sign up, you get 10% off your first purchase from the store, and all members get 10% off for the entire time that you're a member for our store. All right, and this is also where you can support. All right, so if you want to, here's our Rumble section. You go to Rumble right here, and as you see, we are live right here on Rumble as well. So this is another excellent platform. That is a lot less restrictive in what we can speak about. So this is something that we're also building up simultaneously as we build our YouTube. So also make sure you create an account here and go and subscribe here. There's a lot of great content creators over here on Rumble. It's a growing platform. It's growing extremely fast as well because of the reasons that YouTube has for a lot of the restrictions. So make sure to go here. You can just click on this right here, the Rumble, and it'll take you directly to it. All right. So with that being said, Make sure you subscribe to all of our social platforms, and we're doing a lot. So join us in one way or the other, and make sure you show your support. As you can see, we're bringing forth a lot, and we're building a community for everyone to have access to. Once you come into this type of information, once you come into the actual facts and the truth, that's validated by archaeology, our ancestors, science, and your bubble starts to get smaller. So that's why we build this community here, so we can be on a like-minded frequency and we can connect with each other and not feel so alone out there, right? So support us and help us build this. Peace, Eric G. Peace to you, good brother. So with that being said, shout out to the great brother Atef Maat, who's going to bring another fiery roller coaster ride to us. So I hope you all are ready. Support this great brother and his teachings. And with that being said,
let's go.
Let's go. Peace and love.
Atef, peace. All right, y'all ready to go? Y'all ready?
Yes.
Okay. Let me get the screen sharing down. Let's see. Next. Share screen, window.
Shout out to you, Malkia Wa Mongu. We received your support, and we'll show it after the great brother Atef's presentation. So Tua for your consistent support as well, and we will show it. So I just want to give that.
Like my brother Arcad always remain.
Everybody agree.
That was talking over myself.
Hold on. I'm trying to set up, bro. Hold on. Give me a minute.
All right.
Am I sharing?
Yes, you're sharing.
Like my brother Arcad always remain calm against demons.
You good? You on?
Yeah.
All right.
We can hear you.
Welcome, everybody. This is my presentation. It's called Death Culture.
Everybody agreed that women were already supposed to have all of their rights and didn't have to consult with anybody about anything that pertains solely to them because they're the only life bearers on the planet.
Okay, so y'all know where we at, right?
Like my brother Arcad always remain calm against demons.
Everybody agreed that women were already supposed to have all of their rights and didn't have to consult with anybody about anything that pertains solely to them because they're the only life bearers on the planet.
Shout out to you, Kat. Shout out to all the women. Shout out to all the life bearers on the planet. We finna get into this. Has anyone heard or is familiar with the term eugenics? I can't see in the chat, guys. Can y'all see my my chat? I can't see. Can y'all help me out, Scribe or one of you brothers? Has anyone heard or is familiar with the term eugenics?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What about you, Menkhu? You heard about the term eugenics?
Yes, I have.
Okay, good. I'm trying to see my chat, man. I can't. I'll be liking to see the chat too. Hold on. Give me a second.
Absolutely. Open up a new tab.
and you should be able to get to it.
19th century, with
We'll
British
play a
scientist
video
Francis
for y'all.
Galton, a polymath who made important contributions to many fields. Galton was hugely influenced by his cousin Charles Darwin's Origin of Species.
Give y'all
In
a
his first
history
chapter,
on
titled
eugenics.
Variation Under Domestication, Darwin explains how different breeds within a species are often produced from a common ancestor by a process of selective breeding. Galton was the first person to apply Darwin's ideas to humans. Convinced that traits like intelligence and ability were entirely determined by genetics, he asked whether it would be possible to give the more suitable races of blood a better chance of prevailing over the less suitable than they otherwise would have had. In 1883, Galton gave his new idea a name, eugenics, which he defined as the science of improving stock.
There's this phrase that you...
By the turn of the 20th century, Britain's ruling establishment was looking for ways to make Britain a stronger, healthier, and more productive nation. Galton's ideas began to attract interest. Eugenics was seen as a panacea. If the population was simply made better, then so many problems would be solved, from crime to poverty to mental illness. The liberal reformer William Beveridge, architect of the welfare state, and the economist John Maynard Keynes, a key thinker in 20th century liberal economics, were both prominent supporters. Even British liberals and progressives became enthusiastic about policies such as forced sterilisation, which, if enacted, they believed could eradicate negative traits from the population. These negative traits ranged from specific mental disabilities to more abstract characteristics such as laziness or criminality, which many at the time believed were inherited. The Eugenics Education Society was founded in 1907. It argued, among other things, that poverty was rooted in the genetic deficiency of the working classes, and that the feeble-minded should be prevented from having children. 30 years before he led Britain to victory against Nazi Germany, Winston Churchill was honorary vice president of the Eugenics Education Society. In 1910, Churchill warned Prime Minister Herbert Henry Asquith about the very terrible danger to the race posed by the multiplication of the unfit. And as Home Secretary, Churchill went on to propose a series of eugenic policies, including forced sterilisation and the prevention of marriage between those judged mentally unfit. He also planned labour colonies where the criminally feeble-minded could be detained. Long before anyone knew Hitler's name, Churchill was using the sort of language that would later be used by the Nazis to describe those who failed to live up to the standards of the master race. Around the same time, eugenics took root in the United States. In 1906, the inventor of cornflakes, J.H. Kellogg, founded the Race Betterment Foundation in Michigan. In 1911, the eugenicist Charles Davenport founded the Eugenics Record Office in New York. Kellogg and Davenport believed that eugenic policies could alleviate the economic burden caused by certain undesirable members of society, especially the disabled and the mentally ill. They enjoyed the financial backing of huge corporate foundations, including the Carnegie Institute and the Rockefeller Foundation. They held conferences, printed adverts for eugenic marriages, and published their research in journals and newspapers. The campaigns worked. In 1907, the state of Indiana passed the first compulsory sterilization law in the world. By 1924, 15 different states had passed similar legislation. These laws were passed in the hope that those deemed unfit to reproduce and the mentally ill wouldn't be able to pass on their inferior genes to the next generation. And these were popular policies. The 1937 Fortune magazine poll found that 2/3 of Americans supported eugenic sterilization of mental defectives, and 63% supported sterilization of criminals. Between 1907 and 1963, over 65,000 people were sterilized against their will. Relative to the American population, a disproportionate number of those targeted were Black, Hispanic, and Native American women. This demonstrates just how quickly the idea of eradicating negative traits was unmasked as a racist agenda. Eugenics led American policymakers to acts even more atrocious than forced sterilization. A 1911 Carnegie report explored 18 different potential methods for removing defective genetic attributes and proposed euthanasia at number 8. One influential American textbook, Applied Eugenics by Paul Popenoe of the American Eugenics Society, argued that the first method which presents itself to cleanse the gene pool is execution. Its value in keeping up the standard of the race should not be underestimated. These ideas were actually put into practice in some states. One mental institution in Lincoln, Illinois, fed its patients milk that had been infected with tuberculosis in order that the genetically weak among them would be killed off. For eugenicists across the globe, the United States was the shining example of what eugenics could achieve. In Mein Kampf, published in 1925, Hitler lavished praise on American eugenicists. He claimed that he had studied with great interest the laws of several American states concerning prevention of reproduction by people whose progeny would be of no value or be injurious to the racial stock. Hitler and Churchill agreed. America was doing a great job of eradicating the unfit through eugenic legislation. One American eugenicist Hitler particularly admired was the lawyer Madison Grant. In 1916, Grant published The Passing of the Great Race, in which he lamented the pollution of the Nordic race by other inferior races. Grant was less coy than earlier eugenicists about the racist basis of his thinking. To him, the solution was clear. The American population needed to be purified through immigration restriction, selective breeding, and sterilization. He argued that a rigid system of selection through the elimination of those who were weak or unfit would solve the whole question in 100 years, as well as enable us to get rid of the undesirables who crowd our jails, hospitals, and insane asylums. The Passing of the Great Race was the first non-German book to be reprinted by the Nazis when they took power. Hitler himself wrote to Grant, saying, "The book is my Bible." Hitler also deeply admired Henry Ford. As well as his motor company, Ford owned a newspaper called the Dearborn Independent, which from 1920 onwards regularly published articles on the so-called Jewish question. The articles employed all the classic anti-Semitic conspiratorial tropes that Jews secretly ran the world, controlled the media, and started wars for their own profit. These articles proved highly popular among the American public and were published in a book as The International Jew. This book went on to become a huge influence on many leaders of the Nazi Party. Baldur von Schirach, head of the Hitler Youth, said, "The decisive anti-Semitic book I was reading and the book that influenced my comrades was that book by Henry Ford, The International Jew. I read it and became anti-Semitic. Hitler had a large portrait of Ford in his office, and in 1938, Ford was awarded the Grand Cross of the German Eagle, the highest medal Nazi Germany could bestow on a foreigner. He had, after all, helped to inspire the Nazi project." While eugenics may have been mainstream in Britain and America, there were those who saw it for what it was, a pseudoscience driven more by racism than by academic research. The anthropologist Franz Boas took aim at the eugenic idea that it's our genetic makeup that determines who we become. Instead, Boas argued our social and cultural environments play a much more significant role in shaping our character and ability than anything in our DNA. Notable among the opponents of eugenics was the English author and philosopher G.K. Chesterton. In 1913, when the British Parliament was debating the Mental Deficiency Act, which led to the institutionalization of those deemed mentally deficient, Chesterton argued that the aim of such institutionalization was to prevent any person whom these propagandists do not happen to think intelligent from having any wife or children. He pointed out that anyone could be accused of mental deficiency, from tramps and labourers to eccentric rustics, concluding that is the situation and that is the point. We are already under the eugenist state and nothing remains to us but rebellion. This was Chesterton's battle cry to the people of Europe, long before the genocidal realities of eugenic thinking were brought to light. But his rallying cry was ignored. When Hitler became Chancellor of Germany in 1933, one of the earliest laws he passed was the Law for the Prevention of Hereditary Diseased Offspring, which enabled the compulsory sterilization of citizens with genetic disorders. This legislation was directly based on the model eugenical sterilization law devised by the American eugenicist Harry L. Laughlin. Germany was imitating the American states, which had already passed the same laws. Harry Laughlin was given an honorary degree by Heidelberg University for his work in the science of racial cleansing. And upon returning from Germany in 1934, one California eugenicist congratulated his colleagues with the words, "You'll be interested to know that your work has played a powerful part in shaping the opinions of the group of intellectuals who are behind Hitler in this epoch-making program. Everywhere I sense that their opinions have been tremendously stimulated by American thought." Under the Nazi regime, over 400,000 people were sterilized against their will. Among them were the disabled, the blind, the deaf, those of mixed race, schizophrenics, and even alcoholics. 2 years after the Nazis began their sterilization program, they passed the infamous Nuremberg laws in 1935, which forbade marriage between Germans and Jews and excluded Jews from right citizenship. These laws laid the legal groundwork for the persecution of Jews in Germany. They echoed American legislation, particularly the laws which banned marriage between white and black Americans, and the Jim Crow segregation laws, which institutionalized economic, social, and educational disadvantages for African Americans. It wasn't a great leap from sterilization to the next stage of Nazi racial policy, the involuntary euthanasia program, Action T4, which began in 1939. As part of this program, up to 300,000 disabled people were killed in psychiatric hospitals across Germany and the occupied territories. Patients were transferred from their hospitals to special treatment centers run by teams of SS men wearing white coats in order to give a sense of medical professionalism. They were then taken into shower blocks and gassed to death using bottled carbon monoxide. Their bodies were cremated en masse, and false death certificates were written up and sent to relatives. This euthanasia model was then adapted and expanded as part of the final solution to the Jewish question. At the end of 1941, the first extermination camps were constructed in occupied territories. These were places designed specifically for the purpose of genocide. It's not difficult to see how the same eugenic ideology that brought about forced sterilization led to segregation, forced euthanasia, and eventually to the extermination camps of Nazi Germany. In reaching its fullest expression, the British-born eugenics movement that inspired the Holocaust was revealed for what it was, a genocidal project of racial cleansing. Support for eugenics decreased dramatically during the 1940s as news emerged of what was happening at Auschwitz and other extermination camps, in the form of eyewitness reports from escaped prisoners and information leaked from the Nazi high command. What followed was a rewriting of history that erased the role played by the UK and the US in the development of eugenics. In the decades following World War II, many eugenic societies changed their names, and former eugenicists entered other fields of scientific research. The history books used in schools never mentioned it, but eugenic policies continued to be carried out in the US. As recently as 2011, a report revealed that 148 female prisoners in 2 California state prisons were sterilized without adequate informed consent between 2006 and 2011. In the post-war years, Britain and America helped to prosecute Nazi leaders during the Nuremberg trials. But as the chief US prosecutor wrote to President Harry Truman, the Allies themselves have done or are doing some of the very things we are prosecuting the Germans for. As the old Native American proverb has it, those who tell the stories rule the world. British and American eugenics is a story that has been purposefully not told, perhaps because to admit our involvement is simply too painful. It's easier just to pretend it never happened. But the words "never again" will only ring true if we tell the story of our own part.
Shout out to Henry Ford. Shout out to everybody that got them F-150s. Did y'all know that? Carolina says she never heard of eugenics. Shout out to you, Miss Carolina. Well, that is a history of eugenics. Moving right along. So eugenics in America.
I wish very much that the wrong people could be prevented entirely from breeding. And when the evil nature of these people is sufficiently flagrant, this should be done. Criminals should be sterilized, and feeble-minded persons forbidden to leave offspring behind them. Theodore Roosevelt.
The idea was that the bad people have to stop reproducing, and the good people need to reproduce more. Negative eugenics says sterilize the wrong people, snuff them out. And that's the eugenics that the Nazis would pick up on.
Colleges and universities taught eugenics. Medical societies confirmed it. Clergymen preached it. John D. Rockefeller and Andrew Carnegie funded it. And some of the most prominent people in America championed it. Margaret Sanger, Alexander Graham Bell, even Helen Keller.
It seems to me that the simplest, wisest thing to do would be to submit cases like that of the malformed idiot baby to a jury of expert physicians. If the evidence were presented openly, and the decisions made public before the death of the child, there would be little danger of mistakes or abuses. We must decide between a fine humanity and a cowardly sentimentalism.
33 of the 48 states would eventually enact eugenics laws, mandating the forced sterilization of wards of the state deemed physically or mentally unfit. People in prisons, hospitals, and asylums. More than 60,000 Americans would be sterilized without their consent before the last of these statutes was removed from the books in 2014. Eugenics also provided a racist rationale for those convinced immigration needed to be drastically curtailed.
The man of the old stock is being crowded out of many country districts by these foreigners, just as he is today being literally driven off the streets of New York City by the swarms of Polish Jews. These immigrants adopt the language of the American. They wear his clothes, they steal his name, and they are beginning to take his women. But they seldom adopt his religion or understand his ideals. And while he's being elbowed out of his own home, the American looks calmly abroad and urges on others the suicidal ethics which are exterminating his own race. Madison Grant.
Madison Grant was a widely admired conservationist, a friend of presidents, a founder of the Bronx Zoo, responsible in part for saving the California redwoods and preserving the buffalo, and instrumental in creating Glacier, Denali, and Everglades national parks.
And he was also a violent anti-Semite and a violent anti-Italian. And he really was horrified by what he saw happening on the streets of New York. So he publishes a book called The Passing of the Great Race, in which he puts forward the idea that nationalities have eugenic characteristics. He fills it with all sorts of interesting historical so-called data, which is mostly crazy, but it's very persuasive. And it does give the anti-immigration movement, it suddenly gives them science. Science says if we let them in, then they're going to destroy the American gene pool.
For Grant and many others, Jews were a distinct race, not considered white, dismissed as uncouth Asiatics. Grant's supposedly scientific claims about a rigid hierarchy of races was ludicrous. The biological notion of race itself is a fiction. But his ideas caught the imagination of those Americans already opposed to immigration.
People tended to increasingly view nationalities as if they were breeds or species. To liken nationalities to breeds was a fundamental categorical mistake.
Wow. Shout out to Eugenics in America. Did y'all know that Henry Ford was, did y'all know he got those awards? Did y'all know that? Menkhu, did you know that, brother? Did you know that he was rewarded by those people?
I did not know that.
Have anybody read the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill about Andrew Carnegie?
I'm familiar with it.
Okay. These are our founding fathers. So this is what they were up to back then. So moving right along. So that was a brief history on eugenics in America and where it got started. So we're going to move right on with deaf culture. You know, I love my little videos. So who's familiar with Margaret Sanger? And what is she famous for? Shout out to everybody in the chat. Everybody familiar with Miss Margaret Sanger? Carolina said, I've heard of it, but never read it. Anybody know Margaret Sanger? Anybody familiar? In the chat? Need participation, guys. I need participation. Or we open up. Jody says, yes, she's heard of him. Amun Min Rasut Atum says Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood. Malkia Wamungu says Planned Parenthood. Eric D says, I'm not familiar. Carolina says, not familiar with Miss Sanger. LOL. Okay. All right, Carolina, we're gonna bring you up to speed. So Planned
These
Parenthood.
are the doors to Planned Parenthood. What we do isn't a secret. It's quality health care for women, men, and young people. STI testing, well woman exams, birth control, sexual assault consultations, and safe legal abortion. From the clinicians to physicians, from the medical assistants to front office specialists to you, the people we serve. We are all Planned Parenthood, and Planned Parenthood takes care of all of us.
Takes care of all of us. I bet y'all do. I bet y'all do. Takes care of all of us. Exactly.
Margaret Sanger was the founder of the American Reproductive Rights Movement.
Margaret Sanger was born Margaret Higgins on September 14, 1879, in Corning, New York. She came from a very large Roman Catholic family, having 11 siblings. After attending college, she studied to become a nurse.
Margaret Sanger was influenced by the experiences she had as a visiting nurse, where she met so many immigrant working mothers who were deeply impacted by unwanted pregnancies and forced, often botched miscarriages.
Most people attribute Sanger's interest in birth control to seeing what her mother went through. She had a total of 18 pregnancies. Her mother ultimately died at age 40 of tuberculosis.
Margaret married William Sanger in 1902 and moved to Greenwich Village, New York City a few years later. There she began her life's work advocating for birth control while also raising a family of 3 children.
Margaret Sanger came of age during the period of the Comstock Act. This was a statute that made it illegal to discuss, distribute materials, or provide women with anything related to birth control or contraception.
Sanger thought that the best way to change the law was to break the law. She launched the Woman Rebel, which promoted birth control, collecting the attention of the U.S. government, which immediately indicted her for publishing obscene materials. Instead of risking 20 years in prison, she flew the country and went into exile in England.
Sanger spent 1 year in England and returned to the United States in 1915 when the charges against her were dropped. A year later, she opened America's first birth control clinic in Brooklyn.
She called the press for interviews in which she announced the clinic, telling them it would be secret, essentially inviting police to come by. More than 400 women from the neighborhood came to that clinic. A few days later, the clinic was closed and Sanger and her colleagues were arrested. However, the clinic received coverage in all of the papers, and this was in the middle of World War I.
Sanger also went on to start a research institute dedicated to birth control, the first scientific journal dedicated to birth control, and a large advocacy organization. All of these pieces came together in 1942 to become what's now known as Planned Parenthood.
Sanger was deeply committed to finding a pill to help women control unwanted pregnancies.
During the 1950s, she brought together a coalition of philanthropists, scientists, and physicians to ultimately bring about the first birth control pill, which would be known as a Navid.
After more than a half-century leading the birth control fight, Sanger lived to see her main goals realized: the invention and FDA approval of a contraceptive pill in 1960, and the repeal of the Comstock Law by the Supreme Court in 1965. She died a year later on September 6, 1966.
Margaret Sanger wrote that a woman's body belongs to herself alone. It does not belong to the United States of America or any other government on the face of the earth. Sanger fought all her life to make this the case, and women today owe Sanger a great debt of gratitude for fighting this fight for herself and for generations to come.
Shout out to Margaret Sanger. So, Miss Carolina, Margaret Sanger should be celebrated because she fought to make it possible, right? Well, how many of you have ever used any type of contraception? How many of you are aware that contraception was illegal in the 1900s? Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. They just said it in that video when they were talking about the Comstock Act of 1873. Did you guys know that it was illegal to use contraception in the 1900s? Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. Well, if you didn't know, you know now. So, what is the Comstock Act of 1873, and who was Anthony Comstock? Anybody ever heard of Anthony Comstock?
You have to look at Anthony Comstock specifically as a person. It illustrates in many ways how one person can have a really outsized impact on our democracy. Comstock served in the Union Army, where he was really scandalized by the amount of alcohol, pornography, that his fellow soldiers were taking advantage of during the Civil War. And after the war, he went to New York, where he aligned himself with the Young Men's Christian Association, and he started a sort of offshoot of that group called the New York Society for the Suppression of Vice. And at that point, he was funded to go down to Washington, D.C. and to lobby Congress for this obscenity law. And he was just obsessed with sex, and he was able to get the senators and representatives at the time on board. And it was one of the quickest laws that has ever been passed in American history. There was really, really no opposition to it. And so, yes.
I was just going to say, Michelle Goldberg writes in the New York Times, the Comstock Act, the notorious anti-obscenity law used to indict the Planned Parenthood founder Margaret Sanger, banned books by D.H. Lawrence, and arrest people by the thousands, turning 150 last month.
Yes, this was a law with teeth. There were steep fines for violating the Comstock Act. Certainly, you could be sentenced to hard labor, you could be sentenced to years in prison. And this really ensnared ordinary Americans in this kind of vast anti-obscenity legal regime. And it's one of those things where, when you look at it as a whole, it was, absolutely a violation of the Constitution. And it wasn't until the 1920s that there were cases that began to kind of chip away, First Amendment cases that began to chip away at the Comstock Act. But really, it was one of those laws that at the federal level that just kind of increased and expanded an already existing anti-abortion legal regime, because there had been state laws existing for 30 or 40 years before that, before the Comstock Act was passed.
Okay, so that's the Comstock Act. So let's go down and dig into a little bit deeper. So the Comstock Act of 1873, let's look at the most restrictive states. New England residents lived under the most restrictive laws in the country. In Massachusetts, anyone disseminating contraceptive or information about contraceptives faced stiff fines and imprisonment. But by far the most restrictive state of all was Connecticut, where the act of using birth control was even prohibited by law. Married couples could be arrested for using birth control in the privacy of their own bedrooms and subjected to a 1-year prison sentence. In actuality, law enforcement agencies often looked the other way when it came to anti-birth control laws, but the statutes remained on the books. That's right, Carolina, it is contradictory. Sanger's crusade, these laws remained unchallenged until birth control advocate Margaret Sanger made it her mission to challenge the Comstock Act. The first successful change in the laws came from Sanger's 1916 arrest for opening the first birth control clinic in America. The case that grew out of her arrest resulted in the 1918 Crane decision, which allowed women to use birth control for therapeutic purposes. Changing the laws for changing times. The next amendment of the Comstock laws came with the 1936 U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals decision, United States versus One Package. The decision made it possible for doctors to distribute contraceptive across state lines. This time, Margaret Sanger had been instrumental in maneuvering behind the scenes to bring the matter before the court. While this decision did not eliminate the problem of the restrictive chastity laws on a state level, it was a crucial ruling. Physicians, doctors, can now legally mail birth control devices and information throughout the country, paving the way for the legitimization of birth control by the medical industry and the general public. Now pay attention to this, right? Physicians can now legally, that's what they say, mail birth control devices and information. So, okay. Doctors. All right. The Negro Project. What is this? Poor, Black, and Undesirable. Learn more about the 1939 Planned Parenthood Initiative. Hold on now. What's going on here? What's going on? What is going on? What is the Negro Project? What is this? I thought we were talking about Planned Parenthood. I thought we were talking about the Comstock Act. Hold on. Okay. The Negro Project was a birth control initiative launched in 1939, and it was spearheaded by Margaret Sanger, the founder of the American Birth Control League, later called Planned Parenthood. In association with the Birth Control Federation of America, BCFA, the project aimed to bring contraceptive knowledge and tools to the African American communities in the southern United States. Pay particular attention to that. Particularly those in impoverished areas. Sanger collaborated with various individuals such as physicians and philanthropist Clarence Gamble to fund and supervise numerous birth control programs in the rural South. The initiative involved testing different contraceptive methods and establishing birth control services. I repeat, the initiative involved testing different contraceptive methods and in establishing birth control services. North Carolina was the first state to incorporate these services into a public health program in 1937, with six other southern states following suit. Despite these achievements, the program faced criticism due to its failure to overcome segregated health services and improve African American access to contraceptives. Hazel Moore, a lobbyist and health administrator under Sanger's direction, reported that African American women in Virginia were responsive to birth control education, suggesting a need for such programs. In 1939, Sanger partnered with Meri Woodward, Reinhardt, secretary of the BCFA, to secure funds for an educational campaign focused on African American women in the South. Their report, Birth Control and the Negro, outlined a practical birth control program targeted at the largely illiterate population and framed in language that appealed to both eugenicists and progressives. Sanger emphasized the necessity of gaining the African American community's support and trust by establishing clinics. Sanger emphasized the necessity of gaining the African American community's support and trust before establishing clinics. She expressed that the project should not be run by white medical men and should be guided by the African American community. Her intention was to foster a foundation of trust and support for birth control in these communities. During 1939, arguing that we do not want word to go out, that we want to exterminate the Negro population, and the minister is the man who can straighten out that idea if it ever occurs to any of their more rebellious members. This passage has been repeatedly extracted by Sanger's detractors as evidence that she led a calculated effort to reduce the Black population against their will. From African American activist Angela Davis on the left to conservative commentator Dinesh D'Souza on the right, this statement alone has condemned Sanger to a perpetual waltz with Hitler and the KKK. Davis quoted the incendiary passage in her 1983 Women, Race, and Class, claiming that the Negro Project confirmed the ideological victory of the racism associated with eugenic ideas. D'Souza used the quote to address erroneous claims that Sanger called Blacks human weeds, and a menace to civilization in his best-selling 1995 book, The End of Racism. The argument that Sanger co-opted Black clergy and community leaders to exterminate their own race not only gives Sanger unwarranted credit as a remarkably cunning manipulator, but also suggests that African Americans were passive receptors of birth control reform. We were passive receptors of birth control reform, incapable of making our own decisions, and they used Black leaders were ignorant and gullible. All right.
Removing founder Margaret Sanger's name from its Manhattan facility over what it calls her racist legacy.
So two different views here.
And what's a surprising admission from the abortion industry, Planned Parenthood of Greater New York is removing founder Margaret Sanger's name from its Manhattan facility because of what it calls her, quote, harmful connections to the eugenics movement. In a statement released last week, a spokesperson for the affiliate called stripping away Sanger's name both a necessary and overdue step to reckon with our legacy and acknowledge Planned Parenthood's contributions to historical reproductive harm within communities of color. This is the same New York Planned Parenthood affiliate that in June ousted its CEO after an open letter accused her of unfair treatment towards Black staff members, among other abuses. Planned Parenthood has long defended or deflected on its founder's eugenics past. Hear how a video celebrating Planned Parenthood's first 100 years addresses the controversy.
Margaret worked with civil rights leaders, immigrant women, and Black communities, but also aligned herself with eugenicists. It doesn't seem to make sense. But way back in the early 20th century, eugenics was an immensely popular social movement, one with the kind of widespread legitimacy Margaret craved for her own birth control campaign.
It used to be they would simply deny that she was a eugenicist at all. And then the internet happened, and they couldn't deny that anymore.
Dr. Angela Franks is a Catholic theology professor and author of Margaret Sanger's Eugenic Legacy. She tells us Sanger and other eugenicists sought to manipulate the human race through selective breeding.
She believed that the world was divided up into the so-called fit and the so-called unfit, and that she wanted to ensure that the unfit were not going to have children.
Dr. Franks says Sanger's worldview can be summarized by a slogan the Planned Parenthood founder wrote in her journal.
The slogan goes, quality, not quantity. And so for Sanger, eugenics safeguarded that quality side of the equation.
Planned Parenthood is not the only organization grappling with Margaret Sanger's legacy. U.S. Representative Russ Fulcher, a Republican from Idaho, has renewed calls to remove Sanger's bust from the Smithsonian's National Portrait Gallery. In a letter to the Secretary of the Smithsonian, the congressman writes, quote, as our nation struggles to address racial injustice, it is unconscionable that an avowed racist and eugenicist is featured so prominently. Representative Fulcher called Sanger a bad apple in American history.
She flew under the guise of championing women's health, when in reality, her motives were significantly different.
The Smithsonian's National Portrait Gallery has confirmed to EWTN News it moved the bust of Sanger from its Struggle for Justice exhibit to elsewhere in the museum.
That's right, Schema. She's unfit. She's unfit.
Struggle for justice. Abortion is the greatest human rights injustice of our day and of our time. There should be, Margaret Sanger has nothing to do with justice. If anything, it was a false justice movement because she unfortunately through the Negro Project lied to and manipulated and convinced African-American ministers and civil rights leaders to stand with her. But that was because she manipulated them. So if we're going to look at her history, then we have to look at all of it and we'll realize that this woman did not stand for justice and there should be no bust of her really in any museum at all.
We just have a brief period here, Christina, just to address, there are serious conversations about race and racial reconciliation happening in our country. Could this be a moment more people's eyes are open to the reality of Sanger and her work?
I hope so. I would say that the one positive from Planned Parenthood of Greater New York changing their name is at least it validates what we've been saying about them for a long time. Pro-lifers have always said that Margaret Sanger was a racist, that she had a Negro Project, that she targeted people of color, and Planned Parenthood and their employees and staff, they've always denied that. They've looked the other way. They've downplayed it. And now we can point to what's happening. We can point to the name change and say, see, this is the reality of what's going on. But again, more has to be done because they're going to say, oh, well, a lot of people were eugenicists at the time and she partnered with them. And that's not true. She didn't just partner with them. She was leading the way. So even though we can point to what they're doing right now as evidence, we still need to tell people, don't just believe what they're saying, research it, read Sanger's own writings, because I firmly believe if anyone was to read her own writings, they would be disgusted and appalled.
That's right. Amun Men Rasut Atun, she's a horrible person, seems like, right?
Parenthood is publicly commemorating Black History Month while turning a blind eye to what the organization's very founder remarked about race. That's this week's Speak Out segment. In a series of recent tweets, Planned Parenthood President Dr. Lena Wen praised Black employees and supporters of Planned Parenthood, including one of her predecessors, the organization's former president, Faye Waddleton. But Wen's posts overlooked Planned Parenthood founder Margaret Sanger's writings on race. In her autobiography, Sanger wrote that she spoke at a 1926 Ku Klux Klan rally. She characterized her lecture there as a success, writing, quote, I believed I had accomplished my purpose, and that, quote, a dozen invitations to speak to similar groups were proffered. In a 1939 letter to Dr. Clarence Gamble, Sanger wrote that to expand her efforts, colored ministers should be hired to help them make their case. Here are her words. Listen to this. The most successful educational approach to the Negro is through a religious appeal. We don't want the word to go out that we want to exterminate the Negro population. And the minister is the man who can straighten out that idea if it ever occurs to any of their more rebellious members. This disdain for African Americans is not just a stain in the organization's past, it is ongoing in their work today. Black babies are aborted at a disproportionate rate in the U.S. population. According to the Centers for Disease Control, abortion rates in 2008 for non-Hispanic Black and Hispanic teenagers were 2 to 3 times higher than the rates for non-Hispanic white teenagers. The fact Planned Parenthood claims to celebrate Black History Month while not acknowledging these facts speaks to its hypocrisy and lies. Do not trust Planned Parenthood and do not fall for their propaganda, not during Black History Month or for any month.
Wow. Wow. Do not, there you go. Do not trust Planned Parenthood. See, I thought this was about...
Under the veil of secrecy and deception, 60 plus million babies have not been born because they were aborted legally since 73. 1/3 of that population belong to the African American community.
A frightening and telling number given blacks make up only 13% of the U.S. population. Dan Gaynor of the Media Research Center says that Sanger's true mission remains alive and well throughout today's abortion industry.
Look at the maps. See where the abortion facilities are. They are near places where people are marginalized, people are poor, people are minority, and that's their target market.
That's their target. That's a fact. That is their target. But guys, this is not about Margaret Sanger. This is not about that. This is deeper than that. So let's go into the history of birth control.
For as long as men and women have been having children, they've been trying to figure out how not to. Artifacts dating back to ancient times have shown that contraceptives have been used for thousands of years. Unsurprisingly, not every method was all that effective. In ancient China, concubines would drink a cocktail of lead and mercury. Unfortunately, the side effects included sterility, brain damage, kidney failure, and death. Ancient Egyptian women would mix honey, sodium carbonate, and crocodile dung into a thick paste they would insert into themselves before having sex. In Greece, in the year 200, a gynecologist named Cyrannus advised women to hold their breath during intercourse and sneeze afterward. And in the Middle Ages in Europe, women believed tying weasel testicles to their thighs or around their necks during sex would prevent pregnancy. But it wasn't all a shot in the dark. Many modern forms of contraception have roots in the ancient past. For example, ancient cave drawings found in France appear to show an early version of a condom, and a prototype of the cervical cap has been used since Casanova's days. In his memoirs, written in the 18th century, he describes using partially squeezed lemon halves to do the trick. The modern history of not having babies begins in the mid-1800s, when vulcanized rubber was patented and condoms could be mass-produced. Yet for much of the 19th and early 20th centuries, women had a hard time getting their hands on effective contraception. Anti-obscenity laws in the U.S. restricted anyone, including doctors, from spreading information about it. But that didn't stop women from trying to prevent pregnancy. Many women would use household products, such as Lysol or Coca-Cola, which they believed would kill sperm.
Coca-Cola.
Advertisements for Lysol even endorsed the product as a way for women to protect their married happiness. All of that changed in 1960, when the FDA approved an oral contraceptive pill, thanks to the tireless efforts of activist Margaret Sanger and a team of doctors. Within 5 years, millions of American women had prescriptions for the pill. In the following decades, other forms of reliable contraception appeared, including IUDs. Safe and effective birth control still isn't a universal privilege. A 2013 report found that 222 million women from developing countries around the world said they wanted to use birth control but didn't have access to it. But in the US, a whopping 99% of women of childbearing age say that they've used some form of contraception. No crocodile dung required.
Okay, so that's a brief history of birth control, according to those sources. So is anyone familiar with the history of birth control pill and how it came about? Anyone familiar with the birth control pill? The history of it? Anybody? Menkhu, you familiar with that, bro? Anybody?
I am not.
Anybody familiar with the history of the invention of the birth control pill? So we could move on. What they said in the chat? I can't see the chat. Shout out to everybody in the chat. There was a few women in the chat. Shout out to all the beautiful sisters in the chat. So the history of the birth control pill and how it came about. Let's go. So I got another little video right here. I got a lot of videos, man. Got a lot of videos today. I'm letting them tell the story.
There has not been a population explosion as yet, but it may be only a matter of time.
That was crazy, Carol.
Population explosion may lead to an explosion of a different sort. You may well find people of this country may rise in revolt against a system.
Private groups are investing millions of dollars to find ways of controlling population in countries such as Puerto Rico and India.
In 1956, contraceptive pills 20 times as strong as the ones used today were first tested among Puerto Rican women who lived in government housing projects.
Por el año
1955, a nurse came to my house
vino una enfermera
to tell my family about
tenía un programa
planning program.
Creo que era planificación familiar o algo así. Iba por los distintos apartamentos, enseñándonos ese tratamiento que había nuevo para evitar los hijos.
Death culture, death culture, death culture.
Fue que era un método bueno para evitar los hijos. Y cogí el pote de las pastillas y me tomé una y no había echado nada al estómago. Entonces, pues ahí cuando me tomé la pastilla, pues sentí que se me fue el mundo y se me puso la vista como que se me oscureció. Entonces, pues, yo lo único que dije fue, Virgen del Carmen, acompáñame mis hijos.
Las personas que tomaron la pastilla en ese año fueron las primeras mujeres en el mundo entero que tomaron la pastilla. ¿Usted sabía eso, María?
Did you know that, Donna Marie? She said, no, I didn't know that. I didn't know I was the first one to try it. They were experimenting with us, is what she said, without our knowing what they were doing. That's what she said.
I was working in Puerto Rico in the medical school in those years, you know, the decade of 1960 to 1970. And one of the things that seemed pretty obvious to us then was that Puerto Rico was being used as a laboratory, and it was being used as a laboratory for the development of birth control technology.
Did you guys know that Puerto Rico was being used as a laboratory to experiment for birth control? I'm not going to go no further until I get some comments in the chat. Did anybody know that about Puerto Rico? Because that's here in the United States. Did anyone know that? That Puerto Rico was being used. That's what she said. This is a doctor here. This is what she said. And this is what those sisters were saying, that they were experimenting on them without them knowing. She took the pill and she passed out. She didn't know what she took. She said they came around and they were spreading information about how you can plan for your family, and she was receptive to it. Isn't that what I read earlier? They preying on us. Carolina said, no, I didn't know that. Did anybody else know that they used Puerto Rico as an experiment? Shout out to Robert Reyes, Hotep Netters. Did anyone know that? All the sisters in the room. Did any other sisters know, besides Carolina, that they were used in Puerto Rico? Miss Angela Gates says no, she didn't know that. New news, huh? It's not new news to the beautiful people on that island. It's not new to them. Not at all. But my clip won't go. Let's go to my next slide. So they were experimenting on these women in Puerto Rico without their consent. Miss Carolina says, I'm stunned on the background song in the video talking about contraceptive. Yeah, it's yeah, they were, but that's what it said though. That's what Margaret did. She instituted a whole campaign, and yeah, that's what it was. So let's keep it going, right? Okay. So what is NSSM 200? Does anyone know what that is? NSSM 200. Shout out to everybody in the chat. NSSM 200. Has anyone ever heard of that? What about you, Ahati? You heard of that, brother? Is Ahati? Menkhu, anybody heard of that? NSSM 200. Yes, no, maybe so.
Never heard of it.
All right. Anybody in the chat? Anybody in the chat ever heard of NSSM? Dominique Moreno says, I don't know.
No, never heard of it, brother.
Heard of it, Ahati? Ahati, you never heard of NSSM? Watch when I keep pushing. You're going to be like, oh. Boom. Population control strategy in NSSM 200. So, NSSM Memorandum 200 is according to Wikipedia, according to the Google, is a national security study. Memorandum 200 was reworked and adopted as an official United States policy through NSDM 314 by President Gerald Ford. So it is a national security study, Memorandum 200. It says the president has directed a study of the impact of world population growth on U.S. security and overseas interests. So it was called the Kissinger Report. The Kissinger Report, NSS 200, is Propaganda 200, and you can purchase this report. It's been declassified, and it is right here. You can purchase it right here on Amazon for $24.99. World population growth since World War.
Yes.
It's quantitative. It's quantitative and qualitatively different from any previous epoch in human history. Total growth rates are close to 2% a year compared with what about 1% before World War II. All right, that's the Kissinger Report, guys. So this is a strategy. NSSM 200. So you know how we do. You know my teacher is. Shout out to the best teacher, period. Ancestral artifacts over religious opinions. So here it goes right here. This is, you could buy it from Amazon, or you could get the declassified one right here. See right here at the top, it says declassified. EO12958. It was declassified. National Security Council, National Security Study Memorandum 200 to the Secretary of Defense, to the Secretary of Agriculture, to the Director of Central Intelligence, to the Deputy Secretary of State, to the Administrator Agency for International Development. Subject: implications of worldwide population growth for U.S. security and overseas interests. Deaf culture: to be alive here is a lie here. All right, so right here, guys, if anyone wants to get it, here is the whole thing. This is the whole copy of the thing, of the whole declassified. It was declassified on 7/3/1989 under provisions of EO 12356 by F. Grabowski, National Security Council. And you can click right through this. I'm not going to go through this because it's like 42 pages long, and I got a few more slides to go through, but I'm just telling the story here, just giving you guys a little insight into the whole story. So let's read the table of contents here. We just skim through it here, right? So part 1, analytical section, chapter 1, world demographic trends. Okay. Chapter 2, population and world food supplies. Okay. Chapter 3, minerals and fuel, economic development and population growth, implications of population pressures for national security, World Population Conference, population recommendations, global population strategy, a U.S. global population strategy, action to create conditions for fertile decline. What? Wait, actions to create conditions for a fertile decline, population and a development assistance strategy. Am I reading that right? General, yeah, okay. I can read. General strategy and resources for AID, functional assistance programs for conditions of fertility decline, seafood for peace programs and population. All right. Okay. Provisions for development of family planning. Okay. Provision and development of family planning services, information and technology, research to improve fertility control technology, development of low-cost delivery systems, how they gonna get it to you, utilization of mass media, how they gonna sell it to you, what they gonna tell you, how you gonna get it, communication system for family planning, action to develop worldwide political and popular commitment to population stability. Guys, I'm not gonna get all into this. I'm not gonna get super deep because we really can. We could just go on and just go all into it. But if anyone wants a copy of this, you can email teachers@maat.org and I will be glad to share it with you. Moving right along here. I don't want to go to the page. I want to go out. Go to my next slide. It won't let me out now. All right. So, NSSM 200, Memorandum 200 clearly explains the U.S. government's strong push for population control in developing countries. This is done to manage or improve access to these countries' natural resources. The Kissinger report states the U.S. economy will require large and increasing amounts of minerals from abroad, especially from less developed countries. That fact gives the U.S. enhanced interest in the political, economic, and social stability of the supplying countries. Wherever a lessening of population pressures through reduced birth rates can increase the prospects for such stability, population policy becomes relevant to resource supplies and to the economic interests of the United States, according to the Kissinger report. Memorandum 200 directly mentions 13 nations that will be the main focus of U.S. efforts to control population growth. These are countries that are growing quickly and where the U.S. has strong political and strategic interests. They include India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Nigeria, Mexico, Indonesia, Brazil, the Philippines, Thailand, Egypt, Turkey, Ethiopia, and Colombia. In addition, the U.S. plans to work with international organizations, especially the UN Fund for Population Activities, which already work in over 80 countries The U.S. will increase its contributions to help these organizations broaden their efforts. This approach is seen as helpful for U.S. interests and also necessary for political reasons within the United Nations. So these are the 13 countries targeted by Memorandum 200 back then. This is back then. I think it's a little broader than that, but according to Memorandum 200, these were the countries that they were targeting back then. So the following outline shows the elements of this plan, which actually with actual supporting quotes from Memorandum 200. They are. How we doing out there in the chat, guys? How we doing? How are we doing in the chat? Y'all ready? You doing good out there? Okay. Number one, the United States needs widespread access to the mineral resources of less developed nations. The smooth flow of resources to the United States could be jeopardized by lesser developed country government action, labor conflicts, sabotage, and civil disturbances, which are much more likely if population pressure is a factor. These types of frustrations are much less likely under conditions of slow or zero population growth, according to Memorandum 200. Young people are often more willing to question powerful systems and imperialism, so it might be beneficial to limit their numbers. The idea is that young individuals can easily be convinced to challenge the government's legal institutions, property of influential groups, multinational corporations, or other foreign influences that they believe are causing their problem. The U.S. needs to convince important leaders in developing countries to support population control, even if their citizens don't agree. The U.S. should persuade these leaders to promote family planning and control population growth in their interactions with other developing countries and international organizations. The critical elements of government population control implementation include, according to the report, finding main targets. The key countries are India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Nigeria, Mexico, Indonesia, Brazil, the Philippines, Thailand, Egypt, Turkey, Ethiopia, and Colombia. Getting help from international organizations. The U.S. will partner with global groups like the UN Fund for population activities to spread population control aid. This strategy can help avoid claims of imperialism. 3, understanding the role of abortion. No country has managed to decrease its population growth without using abortion. Creating incentive programs. Programs may pay women in these countries to use methods like abortion for family planning. In India, for instance, financial incentives have successfully encouraged many men to have vasectomies. Number 5, focusing on young people. A key strategy is to change the attitudes of the next generation toward having smaller families. Number 6, promoting smaller families. There will be efforts to educate people, especially children, on the benefits of having smaller families, no matter their cultural or social backgrounds. Number 7, exploring mandatory control programs. Exploring mandatory control programs. Exploring mandatory control programs. The possibility of making certain population control programs compulsory should be considered, according to Memorandum 200. Exploring mandatory control programs. The possibility of making certain population control programs compulsory should be considered. Number 8, considering the use of force. Force. This could include withholding aid during crises or withholding food unless the targeted country agrees to implement population control measures. I repeat, considering the use of force. This could include withholding aid during crises or withholding food unless the targeted country agrees to implement population control measures. Wow. According to the Kissinger report, elements of the implementation of government population control programs could include the legalization of abortion, financial incentives for countries to increase their abortion, sterilization, and contraception use rates, indoctrination of children, and mandatory population control and coercion of other forms such as withholding disaster and food aid unless a LDC implements population control programs. Y'all know what LDC stands for? Lower developed countries. So the bigger, so we're going to bully them into implementing the population control. This last strategy, force and coercion, applied to developing countries, is currently used by the population control cartel to push not only abortion, sterilization, and birth control, but other evils such as homosexuality and transgenderism. I'm gonna stop right there because I'm not gonna get our channel shut down. But for more information, you can go and check out Memorandum 200. For more information, it's all there. Go check it out for yourself. Go to my next slide.
North American troops landed in Puerto Rico in 1898. 2 years later, Charles Allen, first North American civilian governor, complained that there were too many Puerto Rican laborers and poor and not enough men of capital. The corporations soon arrived, and by 1930, they already owned more than half of the land. Displaced from the land by the thousands, the small farmers went to work, planting and harvesting sugarcane. By 1937, unemployment had reached 37%. The Puerto Rican people, now landless, jobless, and uprooted, became what the planners called excess population. The North American governor, Blanton Winship, approved in 1937 Law Number 136 legalizing sterilization. Based on the principles of eugenics, which advocated the breeding of the fit and the weeding out of the unfit, namely the poor and non-white, these laws came, in Winship's words, to fill the urgent need to avoid the menace of the ever-growing population.
And now our Caribbean report. Puerto Rico, a beautiful little island with a big problem. Today, April 30th, 1945, Chief of the U.S. Tariff Commission, Mr. Dorfman, has suggested the migration of 1 million Puerto Ricans as part of a plan to reduce the population problem on the island.
1/3 of all Puerto Rican women have been sterilized. So common is the method that it is simply known as la operación.
Sterilization has been pushed really internationally as a way of population control. And there is a difference between population control and birth control. Birth control exists as an individual right. It's something that should be built into health programming. It should be part and parcel of choices that people have. And when birth control is really carried out, people are given information and the facility to use different kinds of modalities of birth control. While population control is really a social policy that's instituted with the thought in mind that there are some people who should not have children or should have very few children, if any at all.
A whole series of catastrophic images were created about the population in Puerto Rico, which made you think it was a place teeming with people climbing like ants on each other's backs. At that time, there were about 654 people per square mile in Puerto Rico. Most of the people that left landed in Manhattan, where the population density was then about 90,000 per square mile.
I was working in Puerto Rico in the medical school in those years, you know, the decade of 1960 to 1970. And one of the things that seemed pretty obvious to us then was that Puerto Rico was being used as a laboratory, and it was being used as a laboratory for the development of birth control technology.
AID's population officer in 1977, Dr. Richard T. Ravenholt, said that if U.S. goals were met, 1/4 of the world's women would be sterilized to prevent revolutions that would interfere with the financial interest of multinational corporations.
Ese es el plan genocida, lo que se está planteando para Puerto Rico.
October 31, 1974. Today in the United Nations, Puerto Rican independence leaders accused United States imperialists of carrying out a genocidal plan in Puerto Rico.
And now, particularly, sterilizations are markedly on the increase in the United States. And if we look at where they're on the increase, on whom I should say they're on the increase, it's mainly minority women, that is Black, Native American, and Hispanic women, and poor whites, especially in depressed areas where there is very high unemployment. At this point in time, where abortion rights are under such tremendous attack that the government is no longer funding abortions for women who cannot afford them, sterilizations are still being paid for by the government and are on the increase. It appears that sterilization as a solution to the so-called excess population in the United States is following the model set up in Puerto Rico.
There you have it. There you have it, good people. Did y'all know that? Menkhu, did you know that, good brother? Did you know that? Did anybody in the chat know that?
I did not know that. You dropping a lot of good info.
All right, moving right along. The doctor said that he had to put in these tubes.
Que son estos dos, tú sabes, los tenía por aquí.
One on this side
en
and
este
one on
lado,
the
uno
other
en este lado y uno en este, con dos expendibles grandes. Pero por dentro, tú sabes, los expendibles eran para que no se fueran ahí por dentro. Sufrí mucho al saber que me habían puesto estos tubos porque yo no sabía en sí para qué eran y tampoco fue una sorpresa porque yo no los esperaba.
¿Y qué pasó?
Entonces al año salí en cinta. O sea, la operación fue en marzo 3 y yo salí en cinta en diciembre, en el mismo año. Cuando cumplí los 3 meses, pues me empezaron muchos dolores vaginales, muchos dolores. Empecé a sangrar. Empecé a botar muchos glóbulos de sangre. Entonces era que el baby yo lo tenía dentro de un tubo. Todo había explotado por dentro y todo se deshació por, tú sabes, todo se partió en pedazos por dentro. Me vi entre la vida y la muerte, no me aseguraba.
It's heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking. It's truly, truly heartbreaking, but it is government policy. It was government policy at the time, but it is heartbreaking. All right. Let's move along now. Move along. What is this, Atef? What is this? what is this? What do we got going on here? Let me see. Let's read this. Looks like I need to read this. What is this, Atef? Is this something I wrote? Okay. Can you guys see that? Let me see. It says, I'm going to read a little bit of this. Let's see. This says, Senator Thomas Tillis state eugenics program victims deserve fair compensation. Deemed unfit to reproduce, 60,000 was sterilized in America's dark, forgotten past. In 1974, 14-year-old Willis Lynch of Littleton, North Carolina. Didn't we talk about North Carolina? Yeah, that was one of the states. It was North Carolina. We talked about earlier, was asked by a nurse to sing a song as she placed a mask over his face. Willie Lynch. Wow, what a name. Shout out to you, 14-year-old Willis Lynch in Littleton, North Carolina. Shout out to you, Willie Lynch. What's the name, brother? He was asked by a nurse to sing a song as she placed a mask over his face. Lynch unknowingly inhaled an anesthetic and then underwent a vasectomy procedure without his consent. What? The forced sterilization was ordered by the state of North Carolina, which had deemed Lynch feeble-minded. Is that what that says? Which had deemed Lynch feeble-minded and unfit to produce children. Lynch, one of several children of a widowed mother, was sent to a reform school 3 years earlier because of his propensity to get into fights with classmates. The state of North Carolina quickly targeted Lynch for sterilization and received his mother's consent only after indicating his return to the family was contingent on her signature, going so far as to threaten to cut off the welfare payments she needed to care for her children. Now, I just read that, and all of that was policy because that's what they said. They said that they will withhold aid, right? That's what they said. And she refused to sign until they told her that they was not going to give her her son back. Contrary to the declaration of the state, Willis Lynch is far from feeble-minded. As an adult, he would go on to serve in the nation in the U.S. Army and become a pillar of his community, where he can often be seen and heard at his local Veterans of Foreign Wars Hall, showcasing his impressive singing and guitar playing talents. Shout out to you, Willis. Shout out to you. I'm not gonna read no more. You guys could go back and read this. Oh, there's another video. There's another video. Atef. All right.
Willis Cleveland Lynch, born in 1933, June the 30th.
Oh, Mr. Lynch, nice to meet you, brother.
I'm 79 now, I'll be 80 years old.
Oh, you're 79 now. Okay, you done grew
Don't
up.
even feel like 80. I was sterilized in 1948 when I was 14 years old. They did a whole lot of, I think it was 7,500 of us, in North Carolina that did it to. And what it did, something, that God put there, they took away, I want to understand why, because I love kids, I get a kick out of them. It's in the back of your mind what it done to you. Something that they can't correct,
No, they can't correct. Order of operation, sterilization. Well, yeah, there you go. Well, that's good.
They shouldn't be cutting with somebody, that for no reason, that I don't see what purpose of it anyway they did it for. I never know.
Population control.
It was wrong for what they done.
Death culture, death culture, death culture.
I didn't know what was going on. If I did, I wouldn't be singing to that nurse. She put the mask on my face, after I sung, too, and all that mess, And I got out of bed the next day, knew something was wrong when I stooped over, I couldn't straighten up, They didn't tell me nothing about how the operation going to affect me or whatever, They didn't say nothing about nothing like that.
Wow.
They just took me and cut me like a hog. Well, can you ride some more? I love to ride. I would say about 7, 8 years ago, all this right here in Raleigh started, and I decided to go in and get my original papers, about the operation and everything. And that's where I found out, that Mama had to sign to get the operation for me. They wanted to sterilize her, not me. It was in writing that the papers that I got. But they decided to do me that way instead of her. Like I say, you just like to have some kids of your own, You think about what they're doing, you can't have none. It ain't nothing like having some of your own, if you love kids like I do.
I agree. I love my children. Totally agree. It's nothing like having children.
They can keep somebody in prison, they can for 15, 18 years, whatever, then they, for wrongdoing that they put them in that for, then they get out, and they pay them on up in millions. You know what I mean? They won't be cutting on them like a hog like I would. I ought to get paid for for what they did to me. It won't never be no peace for what they did, There's something that I got to have it, just take it and go with. And I told him to put it in the paper, that I'm going to be just as stubborn as North Carolina is, that I ain't going nowhere.
So it says at the bottom, it says to date, 220 North Carolinians have been identified as victims and have been awarded approximately $20,000 each. Additionally, if no further living victims are identified, the remaining money in the state fund would bring their total compensation to approximately $45,000. So they're gonna pay them $45,000 for the forced sterilization. But I'm with you, Mr. Lynch. That ain't you can't compensate for that. You got people getting paid millions for being wrongfully in prison. So I don't know what that's about, brother. But moving right along. Has anyone heard of Mary Alice Ralph? Mary Alice Ralph. Has anyone ever heard of Mrs. Ralph? Carolina, I agree. That is sad. I totally agree. It's fed at its finest, primordial thought. That's a fact, my brother. That is a fact. Anybody in the chat ever heard of Mary Alice Ralph? Anybody on the panel? What about you, Menkhu, Ahati brothers? Anybody heard of Mary Alice Ralph?
Never heard of her.
Never? Okay. You heard of Willie Lynch, though, right? You heard of the other Willie Lynch? Which Willie Lynch?
Most
Okay, Dominic Moreno says he never heard of. Okay. Roberto Reyes says no. All right, so there we go. We'll move on right along so we can get through this. So here it goes right here. It says Mary Alice Ralph, Minnie Ralph, and Katie Ralph, by and through their next friend Lonnie Ralph, petition versus the Honorable Oliver Gash, Judge of the United States District Court for the District of Columbia, responding 51F.2D 804, D.C. Circuit 1975, U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia, Circuit, April 3rd, 1975. Henry E. Wells, is a bunch of people's name on a petition for mandamus before Robinson. Okay, looks like some type of court papers. Let's go see what this is. Petitioners. Okay, here we go right here. I'm just going to read what's in yellow. On February 4th, 1974, petitioners initiated a lawsuit in the District of Columbia against the United States and 6 individuals, now or formerly federal employees. The dominant theme of the suit is that the sterilizations were proximately caused by the defendant's negligent failure to provide controls for such operations and by wanton suppression of federal sterilization. Okay. The first 6 counts of the petitioner's complaints undertake the state cause action against all defendants under the Federal Tort Claims Act, each as all other counts allege that the individual defendants at the time materials were acting with the scope of their office of employment. See what it says? They were acting in the scope of their employment. If that were so, the defendants would not be personally liable on the first 6 counts, even if the petitioners of the respect should prevail. Okay, all right. So this is a court. This is some type of court papers against Ralph versus the United States, filed February 4th, 1974, civil number 74-224, DDC. All right. So this is the court, some court papers. There we go.
On June 27th, 1973, a lawsuit was filed that brought national attention to the issue of racially targeted sterilization abuse. In the late 1960s and into the 70s, civil rights activists noticed a widespread trend among women of color. It was sterilization. In June of '73, the Ralph sisters, 14-year-old Minnie Lee and 12-year-old Meri Alice, who was mentally disabled, were sterilized without their knowledge or consent. These African-American girls had the procedure done at a Montgomery, Alabama family planning clinic that received federal funds. Clinic workers deceived the girl's illiterate mother into believing that she was consenting to the girls getting birth control shots. 2 years earlier, the Ralph sisters had been given birth control injections as part of an experimental trial, again, without their consent. After the federal government ended that trial, the clinic nurses decided that the girls should be sterilized. The girls were targeted for sterilization because they were poor, Black, and living in public housing. After the procedure, the girls revealed to their parents that instead of receiving shots, they had undergone surgery. On June 27th, with the assistance of the Southern Poverty Law Center, the Ralph family sued the clinic and the Office of Economic Opportunity, which provided it with federal funding. The district court found an estimated 100,000 to 150,000 poor people were sterilized annually under federally funded programs. The lawsuit led to the requirement that doctors obtain informed consent before performing sterilization procedures.
All right, so my presentation is over, guys. I'm done. I'm done. But does eugenics still exist today? Shout out to Carolina. OMG, that is so sad. I agree. It is sad. Does eugenics still exist today? Menkhu? Menkhu Ra, Ani, Ahati. Eugenics still exists today. Anybody in the chat? Shout out to all the beautiful sisters and wonderful, excellent men in the chat. Does exist today? Put a 9 if you can hear me in the chat. Put a 9 if you can hear me. Or put yes or no. Does eugenics still exist today? What do you think? We are almost done here. Shout out to Roberto Reyes. He says, yes, sir. It still exists today, huh? What you think, Menkhu? You think it still exists today? It's 2023, right?
Yes, it's 2023, and this most definitely does exist.
For sterilization like that, they cutting you like a hog, like Willie Lynch said. They still doing that right now. 999. Okay. All right. So let's see right here. Ahati, you still in Cali, my brother? The California Department of Corrections. Y'all remember I did my presentation last time on the school to prison pipeline, right? The California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation is keeping up the tradition as doctors have performed forced sterilizations on incarcerated women, mostly of color, while delivering their children. According to a 2013 report by Corey Johnson for the Center for Investigative Reporting, the state had paid almost $150,000 to these doctors over the course of 16 years, despite laws that prohibit the use of federal funds for sterilization as a means of birth control in prisons. By way of justification, Dr. James Henrich of Madeira Community Hospital told Johnson that isn't a huge amount of money compared to what you save in welfare. California state audits and prison records found that between 1997 and 2013, at least 1,400 such procedures were undertaken without sound consent. So they are still doing it right now. For decades, California forcibly sterilized women under eugenics law. Now the state will pay the survivors. Can I click and go to an external site? What is showing? Yeah, it's going. All right, let's see. Boom. For decades, California, can y'all see that? For decades.
Yes.
California forcibly sterilized women under eugenics law. Now the state will pay survivors. This is Tuesday, January 20th, 2021. Kelly Dillon still remembers all of the emotions she felt when she realized she had been forcibly sterilized by the state of California. I was angry. I was hurt. I was scared. I was sad. I felt despaired, Dillon said. Basically, you drugged me and you performed this heinous act against me. It's like a form of rape. Dillon was 24 years old at the time and had been serving time at the Central California Women's Facility in Calchilla. She said she initially sought medical care to be treated for an abnormal pap smear result. She was told she could have cervical cancer, but that it would be a simple procedure to remove cancerous cells, one that typically doesn't require surgery. Instead, Dillon was fully anesthetized, anesthesia. When she woke up, she recalled having pelvic pain that continued for months. It wasn't until a year later, after seeking a second opinion for pain, that she became aware that she had been unknowingly sterilized. Because of the symptoms I was having, I was constantly asking for follow-up care to figure out what was going on with me. Dillon said I had to write outside to a prison advocacy group to help me advocate for my medical records. We began to feel like something else was going on here. Dillon is one of an estimated tens of thousands of women who advocates say have undergone forced sterilization at the hands of state institutions. Under California eugenics laws that were in place between 1909 and 1979, about 20,000 women, mostly Black, Latino, and Indigenous women who were incarcerated or in the state institutions for disabilities were forcibly sterilized or coerced into sterilization. Additionally, between 2006 and 2010, a state audit revealed that another 144 women were sterilized during their time at state-run prisons. Now, the state is acknowledging the harm it has caused to these women and their families, and it's paying up. Earlier this week, Governor Gavin Newsom approved $7.5 million to be paid in reparations to the survivors of state-sanctioned sterilizations. There are estimated to be about 600 women still living who have suffered this harm. Each will be eligible for about $25,000. Absolutely, absolutely horrible. Absolutely horrible.
I follow a system that I live daily by, that my ancestors called Maat, which means to perceive, examine, inspect, and it also means truth, because your examination and digging into the root of something gives you good perception, and if you have good perception, you can decipher the truth from falsehood. So thus, the word Maat eventually ends up meaning the truth.
Thank you for joining us today. If you found this informative, please like, share, and subscribe for more insights into deaf culture. Don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments below, teachingsofmaat.org. You guys remember when I did my school to prison pipeline and I spoke about what was the largest, the fastest growing population of women being incarcerated, right? You guys remember that, right? Pretty sure you do. It was women, right? Y'all remember that? It was Black women. To be alive here is a lie here.
Investigating injustice in Chicago. The goal is to make the city safer for everyone, but especially for those most impacted by crime.
CBS 2 investigator Dorothy Tucker spotlights a troubling pattern that's been ignored for years, and Dorothy joins us now live.
Well, Jim and Meri, we uncovered some unique facts and figures that reveal for the first time the truth about who criminals are really targeting. It's people who look like me. Our investigation exposes the causes and consequences of Black women at risk.
We begin tonight with breaking news. Reports of multiple people shot on the city's west side.
It's all we think about.
Multiple suspects walked up to the victim demanding his car.
Our biggest fear.
Breaking tonight, 4 teens, 3 15-year-olds and 1 16-year-old, all shot while on a front porch.
Being the next victim of a crime.
The man stumbled down the Chinatown platform, bleeding from his neck from a gunshot wound.
But what are your chances?
We're not just talking about 1 or 2 robberies here. We're talking dozens of them.
Who's really the most at risk? Is it white men, white women, Asians, Hispanics, Black men? No, it's not. It's women who look like Tonia Thomas.
It's scary.
According to Chicago police crime data for 2022, when you look at all the offenses, count all the victims, Black women are the most at risk.
It's not fair.
Unfair because that 67,000 means 25% of crime victims are Black women, but they make up only 16% of Chicago's population. And when the CBS 2 investigators kept digging, we discovered even more disturbing data. Black women represented more than a third of kidnappings, 35% of assaults, 38% of batteries, attacked and injured, 40% of rape victims. And let this sink in. Black women are 52% of human trafficking victims. Remember, they're only 16% of the population.
To have to navigate through life knowing that you'll potentially become a victim of a crime, primarily because of your race and your gender combined, it's not fair.
Thomas survived a rape.
This is all the paperwork from the hospital.
But she still feels the pain.
What happened to me, it won't go away.
It happened here, this West Side apartment building, at a friend's party.
I did have a couple of drinks, but nothing too crazy.
Pictures of a happy, smiling Thomas were taken just minutes before she felt dizzy and went to the bathroom. The police report details the horrors of the criminal's sexual assault.
I remember being in the bathroom with my the person who assaulted me, and I remember just trying to like get out of the restroom, but I couldn't get out.
The car was parked actually right there on the corner, right before the stop sign.
Even when it comes to nonviolent crimes and reports where police record race, Black women,
I couldn't believe it,
like Evelyn Sparks, are targets. Black women account for 24% of property thefts, arson 28%, car thefts 29%. Again,
death culture, death culture, death culture.
You could see it out the window.
A 2019 Kia.
I parked there every day.
But in less than 10 minutes, it was gone. Photos of a trashed Kia found by police an hour later.
Somebody that takes something that you work so hard for, it just makes you feel very violated.
Why are they targets? Because they're, if you want to call it, easy prey. Yes, yeah.
Geneva Brown is a professor of criminology at DePaul University.
We just had an unfortunate Officer Preston who was killed. She was on her way home at 1:40 in the morning, and she was a target of a robbery. Disproportionately, Black women are working third shift jobs. Black women are in communities where there is a lack of a middle
death culture. To be alive here, it's a lie here.
Foundation.
Where they live, when they work, and listen to this, how they are perceived by criminals put a target on the backs of Black women.
You know that you're in a neighborhood where crime is the norm and not the exception. You're in a neighborhood where you know that the police are slow to respond. It creates that atmosphere where, unfortunately, you have people who feel empowered to become bolder or to continue to commit offenses until they're caught.
Why does it always have to be me? When do I get a break? When can I have some peace? I hear those words quite often in the work that I do.
Gabrielle Molden Carwell works as a trauma therapist, helping Black women cope with their emotional pain.
It's disheartening and it causes self-doubt because something must be wrong with me.
She knows the trauma of sexual assault, not just because she treats survivors.
I've seen it in my mom.
She's lived with it.
I've seen it in my grandmother on my mom's side. I've seen it for myself.
And how old were you?
I was 12.
In the year 2000, when this photo of a carefree little girl posed for the camera, masking her torture.
It went on for about 6 months or so. I was angry. I was heartbroken.
It's very aggravating.
Rage keeps me up at night a lot.
How long have Black women been overrepresented? The CBS 2 investigators went searching for answers. We looked at every crime, every victim, not just 1 or 2 years, not 3 or 4. We went back 21 years. CBS 2 investigative data journalist Elliot Ramos crunched the numbers.
The stuff is buried in like statistical reports that come out every year.
But it's here, the latest, pages 79 to 81.
You got batteries, you got robberies.
Ramos combined the crime data
by day of week, by location type,
with race, sex, and age from police reports.
It was surprising at how consistently Black women in particular were over-indexed in relation to the population, like year after year after year.
The revelation, Black women have always suffered more than others. A surprising fact?
I was 16 when all of that was going on.
No one suffers more than young Black girls under 18. A perfect picture of a thriving high school junior at Little Village until she dated the wrong boyfriend.
I remember like him grabbing my arm and he swung on me and hit me. He was very violent. He was very mentally abusive. All of that was very traumatic.
From 2001 to 2022, for every white girl attacked and injured, there were 18 Black girls hurt.
I decided like I wanted to take some pills. I no longer was getting the A and B's that I wanted. So if my grades began to drop, I felt very burdened. And so I no longer wanted to feel burdened.
I feel like this is just as bad as the war on drugs, right? Like everything went shut down for that. But what about these crimes?
But for Black women disproportionately targeted by crime, there is no special task force, no mayoral commission.
We talk about big picture stuff. We talk about, hot topics, but Black female victimization is not a hot topic.
And Brown adds, no public outcry to address the core causes.
And I think that this is a conversation that needs to be had.
We've been counting CTA attacks, and this one marks 8 in the past 10 days.
As a Black woman walking into the world,
Some of the 14 wounded are still in the hospital.
every day and knowing there's this high probability that something's going to happen to me when I leave the house. And it's like, do you even leave home? But we have to. We can't, live a life where we're sheltered, but why should we have to?
Here's the sad reality. The data shows that Black women are the most victimized group in Chicago, not just this year, but almost every year for the last 2 decades. Now, this is the first in a series of reports. In the future, we'll look at where these crimes are taking place and what might be done.
Death culture, to be alive here, it's a lie here.
The truth that you do know, you are responsible for telling it and sharing it with your people. My mantra is very simple. I seek the truth. I speak the truth. I stand on the truth, and I stay with the truth. The truth does not need any defense.
Death culture, to be alive here, it's a lie here.
Peace and love, everybody. I hope y'all appreciated my presentation. I am done. Hotep Maat. Peace. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, brother.
Yes, we can hear you.
Deaf culture, guys. What y'all think? Deaf culture.
Fire. Very good. Yeah, you set that presentation on fire, brother. You exposed a lot of things. You went deep into Kissinger. The ending was deep. But I also see the blame is on us too. The sisters are following Maat. They don't have to worry about what's going on with those women in the end that are suffering and going through all that horrific treatment that they're going through. And you brought that tonight with your teachings, and it was very good, brother.
To our brother, appreciate it.
Go ahead, brother Menkhu.
To a brother for your presentation. You dropped a lot of facts, a lot of really good, solid information. I like the videos that you shared. Also liked how you tied it to us going after smaller, different countries for their resources and population control. So, we're surrounded by a 360 degrees death circle, and only Maat can give us the strength, the wisdom, and all the energy that we need to defeat the matrix. So, Tua, for your hard work and dedication.
My brother, I appreciate it. Come join us. teachersofmaat.org.
Mr. Come join us. Phenomenal presentation, my great brother. you always take us and show and reveal, in a very strategic way in what needs to be seen. A lot of people know maybe the surface of some of this stuff, but you do a great job of showing who and what starts, these processes here that our people utilize at a very high level, to the point today where, we have what's called Plan B pills being taken like Skittles. And they openly say this, they openly will say that, that's the new birth control today. And so it's great that you bring forth this information and show forth and prove who started the process of the mental psyops, the psychology of what this represents and why it was put in place and who it was targeted to. And that presentation will open the eyes to a lot of brothers and sisters, especially the sisters, and be able to showcase that and show your other family members, the young women coming up, because if we don't present this and we just leave it to the matrix to guide and raise our children, then there's no hope in that at all. So to my great brother for showcasing what you did, allowing the people to say it themselves. That was great. So peace and love to you, great brother, for your work, for your research that you bring forth. And it's always so much appreciated. You're doing you're not doing DJ work too in your presentation. That was great. That was phenomenal. So it was beautifully put together, my great brother. So shout out to you and the work that you do. And you are so very much appreciated and loved, my great brother. So peace and love to you. Shout out Nini.
Yeah, I like that ending, brother. I like that. I want more of that. That was nice. The ending, that's culture, and you're switching between the videos. That was good.
I'm learning. I'm late. Listen, when SCRIIBE made that lead with the left, that was inspiration. So I went and got me a little box, and because I like lyrics, man, and it's fire. To be alive here is a lie here, So, and it's the truth. So. Yeah, shout out to you, Primordial Thought, my brother. What'd you think of the presentation, my brother?
Hotel brothers. To you, Atef. That was, you always knew that was population control, but I never saw it into that much detail, though. That it was the detailing in it. It's like we always knew, but not, as deep as that. And to you for that. I appreciated that. That does, boil the blood a little bit because of those things going on, but we got to do our part, just like Ahati said. We got to do our part as well. But thank you for that, man. I appreciate you for that.
Yeah, man. A lady at my goddess's gym told her that about Puerto Rico, but I had already been. I didn't know that at the time before the presentation. I didn't have all of that information. Like you said, it was very general knowledge as well. Shout out to my goddess for helping me research and do all of the she's instrumental in helping me. I wouldn't be able to do it without her. So shout out to her and all the beautiful goddesses out there that support their Djed. But yeah, I didn't know that, and it was the synchronicity because I was thinking about what I was SCRIIBE. I've been telling SCRIIBE, I don't know what's going on because I really just be moving from inspiration, bro. I really be like just moving like how it feels. I really lead with the left and I move from my heart. So that's why I don't be knowing what it's going to be and how it's going to come, what I'm going to bring forth. It's really up to the minute. I actually just finished right before I started, and I still didn't get a chance to present it the way the way I wanted to. But yeah, it's a shame because I didn't even know all of that. Like you said, I didn't know to that extent until I started researching into it, you know, and then you get to see like, wow, you know, shout out to all the mega churches and all the powerful preachers out there that you know that promote this ignorance. It's fact. But yeah, it's right there in the policy. So everything that happened was in the policy, right? Everything that they did, it's their policy, right? And it just got declassified, but the information is out there. You know what I mean? Like, and the people of that land were saying they were experimenting on it. We didn't know what was going on, and it's heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking because this is what our teacher teaches us about, that they are attacking our biological imperative. So this was my inspiration to do that, along with my young brother Ahati and his lyrics. So that's what brought this forth. Because like I said, I really don't I don't have it lined up. Oh, I'm gonna do one on this, so I'm gonna do it on that. It's just whatever comes to me, whatever the netters want me to do, that's what I do. So,
Atef, can I share something real quick? I didn't mean to interrupt the bill.
Go ahead, you good?
I was just gonna say, I wanted to speak on the spell of the word abortion, and this is you know, to go along with Ani's lyrics and what we know, that it's murder. And so why we calling it abortion is because they want you to think, they want to, you know, that's the psyops, right? Call it abortion. So you not thinking it's murder, but it's murder. So we have to call it what it is and not be tricked by the matrix and call it abortion, because that softens it a little bit, even though we know what abortion is. But you saying this word that is not what it actually is. And, you know, Saba, you know, explained that a little bit. And I think we must not elude ourselves from the truth.
I agree. I totally agree with that, brother. And that's why so the last video about the sisters and the crime, my goddess was like, that don't go with the video. Like, why you put that in there? That's about crime. And it's fed is fed. If it's a stolen key or a stolen uterus, what's the difference, right? And who they targeting? They targeting us. The whole purpose is to show that they are targeting our biological imperative. That's the whole point of it. You know what I mean? So I was like, she was like, you shouldn't put that video in there. I was like, a crime is a crime, and it shows the statistics. So we're just, like you said, Menkhu, we're minimizing what's really going on. So that's why I put that in there to show the statistics, and whether it's a key or a uterus, like, you know what I mean? And you really can't compare material to life-giving. You really can't. There's really no comparison. So it's really worse than that. But yeah, that was yeah, it took a lot too. I almost didn't get to do this presentation because I haven't been feeling my best. It took a lot out of me. When Saba says what goes into creating these presentations, I can't even imagine, because what it takes for me to bring forth what I have to bring forth is really challenging, but not in a negative way, because I know that this is how you build and this is how you grow, and also this is necessary information, and everybody's not going to bring it forth. And just the reality of it is that we are at war, and our people are scared. Our people are cowering in the corner, and we're not protecting our sisters. We're not protecting our mothers, our fathers. We're not protecting our children. We're not even protecting ourselves. So, you know, this is what that presentation was about. Our biological imperative. That they are at war and they are attacking us, and they're using our sisters. And they did it. They started Puerto Rico. Like, I didn't even know that. It's sad, man. So, you know, we got to smarten up and wise up, man, and take notice of what's going on and move smart. So, Hotep Maat, peace and love.
The link is posted in the chat. If anybody wants to come up, it's pinned to the top of the chat if you want to come up. Shout out to everyone who support us, Cash App, PayPal, Teachings of Maat, for these wonderful classes, and all of what it takes to put these together for you all. So be sure to show your support, whether you're live with us here now, or for all of you who are watching on the playback, continue to support if you recognize and you appreciate this information. So let's give a shout out to the wonderful supporters. We have the great brother Nito Campbell, who is Squano trending in the chat. He sends $5. He says, for still learning.
My brother.
To our great brother Nito Campbell for your support. All right, next we have the wonderful sister Malkia Wamungu, who sends $15 for support. Shout out to you. To our supreme gratitude, my sister, for your support and your consistency as well. You're very consistent, so shout out to you for that. A wonderful, the great brother Stephen E, also very, very consistent with his support and with his studies. He sends $15.72. He says, I value and appreciate Nefer Senu Tua.
For your support, my brother.
Yes, to our great brother Stephen E for your consistency. And lastly, this is the last support that we got in. Be sure to support if you appreciate this information. Great sister Angela Gates sends $10. She said, great presentation, Atef. All right. So I refreshed, and some more great brothers who came in with some support. The great brother Jay Kirkland, a shout out to you, and of course Eric G, shout out to you. Let me get these prepared for you all.
Shout out to all the supporters. Shout out to everybody in the chat. We got a beautiful family here. Y'all know that we don't have like hundreds of people in the chat, but we support each other, and that's a beautiful thing, man. The reciprocity is excellent. So shout out to everybody that support the truth and appreciate it, and understand that we at war, and the only way we can win is together and with Maat. That's the only solution. Come join us. teachersofmaat.org.
Come join us. Shout out to the great brother Jay Kirkland. He sends $5.72. He says, Henu, Atef, Rem Kim Maat. Henu to the panel, Tua.
Many up, my brother. We appreciate your support.
Yes, one of the active members, great brother Jay Kirkland, MetaNetter student. All right. And next we have Eric G. That's it. 555.
Shout out to Eric G.
All right. Wonderful. Yes, like the great brother Atef says, we have a wonderful community here where we really do support each other, you know, and as I always say, it's not about the quantity at all. It's about the quality, because if you have a bunch of a bunch of something that is where the quality is terrible, it will not last nearly as long as the one great thing that is of the highest quality, and that's what we're building.
In fact, brick by brick too.
Yes, sir. And shout out to the great brother who is on the panel here with us, with that nice, lovely pinky ring. I see you flash right there, my great brother. Primordial Thought 9. He sends $10 to Atef.
Hey, Audi, it's my it's my Uwaja. I know you see it.
Oh, let me
put that up on the put him up on.
Let me see.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful.
Nice. Excellent. Scott, how's my mic? How's my sound? It don't feel the same.
You sound good. You sound good, my brother.
Okay.
All right. So I do want to present this before we start to head out. Of course, we have our talent show. We have our talent show coming up. So if anyone wants a chance to win $100, join in on the talent show. So far, we have one person who is signing up for the talent show, and that's Sister Sharika.
Well, she won already then.
So if no one else comes in and she shows up, she wins by default. So.
You gonna get on there and sneeze, bro. Win. You gonna sneeze. He can sneeze and win. It's no. Hey, listen.
Yep.
Damn, I want to sign up now.
Sign up too. Hey, I'm gonna be blindfolded. I'm gonna do the meta netter blindfolded. I'm gonna draw a cruise blindfolded.
Wow. So yes. So sign up. Come in. Whatever it is that you want to present and show, bring forth. Creativity is infinite. So, sign up for our talent show. July 2nd, 2023. To for putting that up there. July 2nd, 2023. And that will be next Sunday. So you have this week to go ahead and sign up and say, hey, I want to sign up. I want to come in. And get your chance to win some moolah, win some money. Everybody could use that.
I guess everybody's rich or wealthy. They don't want $100. Man, I will sign up. Just do something, man.
Do something. Right.
I mean, why don't you want? I don't understand why it's just her. It's almost like a free $100. This is your opportunity, and you get that free advertising.
They might be shy.
Yeah,
Yes, shy guy.
Shy. Nobody's shyer than me, though. Y'all believe I'm shy?
Yeah, people are most definitely shy and scared. Nerves start to kicking in, and you got to talk yourself up to come up here and say, "Oh man, everybody's gonna watch me, and everybody's gonna judge me, and what if I mess up?" But this is probably the one of the greatest environments that you can come into, and you ain't got to expect no fire coming your way. So we created a great environment for people to feel comfortable to come up here and showcase what you have, your thoughts, and even if you you just want to express some things. There's so many ways, right? So it's especially with the businesses as well. I know we have some business owners out there. I know we have some people running businesses or doing things outside of what you see and present here on YouTube, and it's another opportunity for you to do that as well. Advertise yourself, put yourself out there. That's the only way for you to be visible, for people to see you, know what you're doing, how to contact you, how to get in contact with you and shop with you. And that's one of our goals here, is just to build community where we support each other. If you run a business, I'm going to support you, you know, whatever it is. We will support you. And that's what we're here to do, help build each other up. So Robert Reyes, what did he say? He said, I ain't shy.
I'm just a ninja.
Oh. I'm up here with some ninja stars and throw it at a target. We want to see some sword work. Mr. Robert Reyes. All right. So make sure you all sign up for that. It's the last week for that. And
Menkhu, how much does it cost to join the talent show to get in?
$5. Ahati, I think you should show us how you cook up them fragrances. We can see the artwork on there, and you could double bubble to show the business and be in the talent show.
Yeah. I can't afford $5. It's too much money. You know how much I gotta go to come on, $5? That's it to join the talent show. I've always wanted to present myself to somebody other than mom and dad and sisters and brothers and get some. Man, this is your chance. What are you waiting for? Hesitation is fatal. Menkhu created something great. It's your chance to not only earn money but to have free advertising. I know people are making soaps, shampoos, they're doing all types of stuff out there. This is your chance.
I'm excited to see what Sharika's going to do. I wonder if she's going to do some spoken word poetry. If she does, that's probably going to be fire.
Yes. Well, I guess she'll just give her presentation fee or show fee. Oh man. I know there's somebody in the chat right now. I know the ninja guy, Roberto Reyes, Jay Kirkland, you seem outgoing. I know you got some talent. There's got to be somebody else. Sharika needs some competition. Angela Gates, do you cook? Is there crafts you do? I know some sisters in here do crafts. That's a talent. Can you create sweaters or blankets or quilts or something? But we will see.
This may be one of the greatest investments that the sister Sherry Kai's made. 2,000% profit. That's wonderful.
She got a return on her investment, huh?
2,000% return. If we all could just make that, that'd be
put some in, get some back.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
That's supposed to be a show tonight. I didn't think it was gonna be that long. It was pretty.
You talking to us, Atef, or you talking to your
I didn't know the show was gonna be that long. It was a good show tonight.
Yeah, it was great.
Mm-hmm.
Primordial, what's going on, brother?
Hey, Atef, Ahati, how's it going, brother? Everything's good, man. It's my Earth Day, so it's cool. It's good to just listen to some teachings.
Oh, happy Earth Day.
Enjoy your time.
She said Angela Gates is cook. Why, yes, sir. So maybe Angela Gates may answer. And yeah, we'd love to see what you got, what you're chefing up, sister. I know you make some mean what I used to love, not sweet potato, coconut. I think it's coconut pie. Yeah, coconut pie. And you freeze it and then you eat it. I remember being in North Carolina eating like that, eating like a king. But yes, if you want to join, Menkhu said it's $5 to get in. You still have time, about a week. And we would definitely love to see what you're cooking up.
Yeah, happy Earth Day, Primordial.
Happy Earth Day.
Hey, my brother.
Tour, brothers, tour.
Primordial, you got some talent?
Oh man, you know, my talent's more one-on-ones than anything.
Primordial. I gotta get up here, bro. You gotta get up here too.
Stop trying to pull me in the trenches.
Hey, listen, that's part of it, brother. We all gotta do it. We all gotta do it. Hey, I didn't know this what it was gonna be. I was like, what? I just wanted to go and ask a question. That was it. I went on the panel one time. I never left, bro. Got on the panel one time, and I was laying down.
Hey, you doing good, brother. To you.
Yeah, my aunt motivated, brother. It's my aunt that motivates me. So, you know, because I don't know what's going on, Scribe. I don't know what's going on, my brother.
My art is going on, my great brother, and it's beautiful to watch. You know, to watch and be a part of. It's phenomenal.
Absolutely. I'm telling you, that's the only thing that motivates me, bro. Y'all know, I'm gonna tell y'all what I had to do. So what time is it? So over my time, it started at 7. I'm so shy that I was in the first of all, I was in the hot water relaxes me, that good nuke, right? But not just hot water. We have to boil the water. So I boil the water, and because I got burnt, my skin is burnt. I have a different sensitivity to my skin, so I have a high tolerance. Like I burn myself and won't even realize the blister. But I usually don't burn. I have a very high tolerance of heat. So I'll get in the hot water and just sit in there. My wife be pouring hot water. She'll boil the water and come pour it in the tub. Till I get my jacuzzi fixed. I got a hot tub in my backyard, but I got to get it fixed. But I had to sit in there, man. My anxiety was so... To get up here and to do this, it takes a lot. I'm just telling you. I was sick. Look, I'm drinking ginger ale. I'm drinking, not even, she ordered me ginger beer. This ain't beer. This is ginger. This is hot sauce water, bro. Y'all ever had real ginger beer? This is absolutely, it's like you drinking hot sauce water, man. Like,
Atef, you was getting that. Atef, you was getting that set bath burning, huh?
Listen, yeah, look. I'm taking some type of digestive aid. I don't know what she gave me in this cup. Man, listen, it really take a lot. I'm telling you, y'all think it's a game. I'm for real. I'm really not being on the camera and all that in people's face. That is really not me, bro. At all. I'm text messages. My aunt called me this morning and she was like, "Did you see the pictures of your cousin?" And I ain't touched my phone in 2 days. Scribe was like, "Hey, did you get the special message?" I'm like, I don't know. I looked at it. I was like, "Yeah, I did get it." I'm detached, bro. I'm completely trying to detach from this matrix, bro. It's family, and y'all my family. And my family here is family over everything. I don't have no time for the ISFAT, man. I really don't. I'm so for real. But my art is a beautiful thing, so it's motivating. The truth is motivating, you know. And then what else you gonna do? What else you gonna do? If you're not gonna try to create a better world for your children and for your people and for your neighbor and for yourself, then what are you doing? You know what I mean? What's the purpose? You know, I mean, like, are we still going to the clubs and like it's just ridiculous, man? And hanging out and like we losing, man. Y'all see what's going on the news? It's crazy, man. That's another thing my goddess was like, you know, I have to show what's going on right now. You know what I mean? Because it's constantly, we at war. It's just a fact. We at war. And until our people wake up and realize that, you know, that they targeting us from every angle, we're going to continue to be at a loss. You know, so we have to wake up. It's imperative that we wake up or we just going to die off because they already got these measures in place, these laws and these different things, and they recent. You seen the losses, those laws, those are recent. That ain't like in the 60s and Willie Lynch, he knew. Like, that was after the civil rights and that was after the fact. It was 1970 something. So, you know, we got to wake up, man. What she say, Angela J. Gates says some catnip and burdock root will help you. Okay. Look, where's it at? I got my, I had some holy basil. It was sitting there, so I was sniffing it. When y'all see me putting my thing up to my nose, like the Pa'i, I be smelling on that good holy basil. I'll put a little some type of essential oil, lavender or something on there, and I'll like, you know, Yeah, I really don't have time for foolishness, man. So this is beautiful. My art is beautiful. So this is why I'm here. If this, I can't be around that ignorance. I don't want to be around it. And it's sad because I used to thrive in those environments. And it's sad to say that out loud. But I'm here. So, you know, shout out to all the survivors. You know what I mean? But we got to wisen up, man. We got to wisen up, and we have to do better for our children. You have to.
Yeah, well said.
Go ahead, brother.
Well said, Atef. Well said. We have to do better for our children, else the cycle just keeps repeating over and over again. And that's why your teachings, our teachings, teachings of Maat is so essential right now, because we need to keep reminding people that the horror, the treatment that our ancestors went through recently, within the last 100 years, is still continuing and growing. And it's even worse now because of transparency. Like back then, you knew they were gonna call you a nigger, or they were gonna kick you in the back when they arrest you, or they're gonna beat you down. And now a lot of our children have accepted them as friends, that they're friends, and they come over to eat dinner with us, and we share secrets with these people, when we should always have both eyes focused and observing them at all times, waiting for the confrontation, waiting for them to rebel, waiting for them to disrespect us, and waiting for them to cut us down. I used to have Tamahu friends back in the day, naturally. And I say naturally because my mother's a Tamahu. I grew up around Tamahu, so naturally I would have Tamahu friends. Slowly but surely, as I kept growing older and older and moving away from their type of mindset in society, people started to drop off to a point now I don't have any Tamahu friends. And I had I have Tamahu people that did a lot for me, a lot concerning financially, even partially mentally. But the point I'm making here is that you have brothers on the panel here that can support you mentally. And in certain circumstances, we even support people financially, without asking for any payback, without any strings attached. Because it's very rare for us to do this with one another. As Atef showed in the end of his video, everybody's crying about the problems. I'm not belittling the sisters and what they go through, or the brothers, but I refuse to be a victim today. I don't care if a white man walks up to me, calls me a nigger, a monkey, and they have called me all this stuff. I don't even laugh. I just start breaking them down mentally and say, this is what you are, and this is where you come from. I know you're angry because you don't have an ancestry, and to the point where I've literally caused their mates to start crying, and they have to hug them and secure them because I'm rapping lyrics from a Just the Law song by Army of the Pharaohs group out of Philadelphia. The point that I'm making is, especially as men, is that our strength is in unity. It's in us teaching each other, encouraging each other, and helping each other grow. And we don't all have to get along. That's the main thing, because that's the truth. We all have unique personalities. If we get along, great. But in order for this to work, we don't all have to get along. We just have to check if what the person's telling me is the truth. Or if you don't even want to do that, just find somebody you respect here on the panel and see if what they're telling you is the truth. And once you find that they are, then run with that. Go with that for a little while. Experience that. It's very frustrating now. I've been in this for almost a decade. And at times it's very frustrating because we have the solution. We have it right here for you. We're holding it in your hand. And it's almost to a point where most people, they just don't want it, or they're just not ready for it. So now you have to go into your own survival mode, which goes back to Saba saying that all he wants to do is teach and go up in the mountain, in the hills. And I totally get that, because I used to physically be around him a lot. And we would literally, when he would be performing his magic on stage, he would say, well, here comes the monkeys. Here comes our people, because in this state, we are monkeys. That's the truth. And here come our people I'm going to go on break, do this, or we would just move from them. Whereas the whites come, and the whites are quiet, respectful, and doing what they do now, because the roles have reversed. They took what we were, and now we're how they were initially as Greeks. And what we're doing here is we're trying to flip that over and reverse that with information, but also with action, by bringing you entertainment with Ahati and Menkhu, with bringing you serious knowledge like Atef and me, and bring you all aspects of how our worldview can change and grow. And I guarantee this, I know this for a fact, because this wouldn't exist if it, listen, what's popular now with our people is stupidity. That's what's popular. We would have millions of views if we were just having sisters up here twerking, talking about money, just talking about what the Tamu wants to talk about mainly. But we're not doing that. We're doing the exact opposite. But I know in the future, our generations in the future will look back on us here, and they will worship us, and they will put us up on the standard. The EE from the par EE, they will put us up on the standard, and that will be their banner leading them into their future. And I feel so appreciative and grateful for that opportunity to give people in the future that. And to those of you here as well. But I got to keep it real with you. Like Atef just shared that he gets anxious, he's shy. Atef is opening his heart. He's the Techetu. He's opening his heart. If he couldn't do that, he would not be the Techetu. He would not be the backbone of this organization. The backbone of this organization is the one that is not afraid to open himself up to the people. That's what we need right now. A lot of us got a lot of trauma. We got a lot we're going through. We don't want to admit it. Whatever it is, maybe ego. I know for me it was ego a lot of time. I don't want to be embarrassed. I'm afraid because, like Ani said, we're not those type of brothers. We're not going to cut you down, even if you suck, man. Even if you're no good at what you do. We're not going to call you out on that. We're not going to tell you that in public and embarrass you. That's just wrong. And I wasn't even that type of person when I was younger. I was never a loudmouth type person, especially when it came to fighting. Guys want to fight all up in the open, have cops come in, attract attention. I'd always want to go in the alley or go somewhere else. But the point that I'm making is this. The brothers here on the panel put in a lot of time and effort. They have personal lives on the outside that they're doing too. They have jobs, and support them. Again, shout them out during the week. How you doing on it? Everything okay? Menkhu. I don't have any talent, but here, I want to throw you a few dollars. Here you go. Atef, yo, I'm shy too. I got this going on with me. I'm glad that you shared because it really made me comfortable. I feel like now I can open up to somebody. I guarantee that we start doing this with one another. Building a nation will become readily accessible, and then it will bring other people on board because real recognizes real. You remember that? Remember that from rap? Real recognizes real. You can't fake something that you are. And I just want to leave you with that because what Atef said moved me, and it needs to be said. The Tamahu is here to kill you. Point blank. I know some of you have Tamahu mates, man. I'm at a point I could tell you that. If I had a Tamahu mate, I would tell the brothers right now. If it meant me having to jettison from the organization, bye. Because I already jettisoned people from the organization. Even though I love those people's work ethic, and I was beginning to love them as a friendship. But they had to leave. Because we have to just be honest, man. And then lastly, Saba deserves that. The master teacher, whatever you call him, the leader, the master teacher, the Utu, the Nasu Bit, the Pari'i, he deserves that. He doesn't need a bunch of people around him that can't be honest with themselves, that can't speak the truth. It's fun and entertaining. We could joke, we could laugh. That's great. But Atef showed us, at the end of the day, Chicago is embarrassing, man. Chicago is a war zone for us. It's embarrassing. Chicago is an example to the world that we can't do anything together that brings anything of fruition or anything positive. And we know that's a lie, but the majority of the world doesn't because they're always looking at us to fall. We need to stop worrying about them and start focusing on us and holding each other accountable. And I love that because it starts here in the group. The brothers, and I'll stop with this. The brothers have seen a side of me that none of you have ever seen. There's people in chat that say, oh, Ahati's this, Ahati's that. I broke down crying like a baby. And it took my master teacher to do that. And I'm grateful for that. Because before this, you know how great this show is? I've known Saba 9 years, the netter number. I've known Saba 9 years. I've never cried in front of him once. I've never even broke. I mean, I broke frame, meaning I broke my strong presence, my commanding presence. I broke that with him, of course. But I've never cried in front of him. And how real we get here, we are stable enough and comfortable enough to cry in front of each other, admit when we're wrong. And we're not crybabies. We're not weak. Crying is a sign of strength. Crying is a sign of strength because it's showing you that you can get real. You're not afraid anymore. Only men that are afraid to cry in front of other men are the men that are faking the funk, that are weak. I said it here. You can timestamp that because I know people will have something to say, but that's true. If you're very secure with yourself and your people and you love your people, you're not afraid to open up in front of them. So that's what we're doing here at the teachersofmaat.org. That's why we have our awesome website, awesome merch, awesome talent, because we're not trying to be anything that we're not. We're just trying to give you the information. You can take it or leave it. And then you can see by our chat room that the people that are real and want to keep coming back over and over and over again, that's the type of energy we all resonate with. So Atef, I want to leave you with this, brother. When I first met you, I knew this was you. I knew that you don't have to come out with Meta Netter and do everything that we're doing. You just come out with what you're good at, and you're good at opening up to the public and showing us what's wrong with us collectively and how we're being attacked by our sworn enemy. And just a great presentation, brother.
Brother, I appreciate that, brother. I do. And that's the thing, I put the boat in the water where I'm at. You know what I mean? I told you that one time before. I said, I told you, and look, now I can time to time 3 now. I told you, I said, what's better than you learning from Saba? What's better than that? Me learning from you and Saba at the same time. And Ani and the rest of you brothers. So listen, I'm honored and I'm grateful to be here too. And it's so weird because nobody believes me when I say that. Because everyone says that, Ahati, you the life of the party, you this, you that. I'm just like, okay, whatever. You know what I mean? I just do me. You know what I mean? But everybody says that. So, everybody can't tell the same lie. And I know that it's always, especially when it came from you and it came from my goddess and people that I know really love me, then, they mean it. They're not like just trying to gas me up or nothing like that. So I appreciate that. I appreciate the support. And like I said, it's my art that motivates me to get up here because I don't feel less than, that's not how I feel. I actually love learning from y'all. I actually love to be around. Let me check this out. If you're the smartest person you hang around, you need new friends. So all my friends smarter than me. I get to learn from all my brothers. So you know what I mean? That's a beautiful thing for me. I absolutely love that. So that's where I'm at with it, brother. So like I say, it's my art that motivates me. And so this is why you'll see me up here consistently because I had to look in the mirror and I was consistent with the ISFET, right? Consciously. I was consciously consistent with the ISFET at one point in time in my life. So there's no way that I could know the definition of my art and be named my art. My last name, that's my frequency, that's my REN, and not be motivated by the truth. So this is why I get up here and this is why I bring forth. Even like you say, even if I have to get up here and talk because I didn't think I was going to be able to finish my presentation because I sat in the tub for about an hour. But it's, like I said, it's a beautiful thing, and the time is necessary. Like it's necessary right now, right? Because I think to where I would be personally if I had a show like this, or if I would have met Saba 9 years ago, or if I would have met, Saba when I was a teenager, or anything. If I would have, been exposed to my culture, to our culture, to what our true culture is, if it was younger, when I was younger. But I'm grateful to be here now. And that's all that matters. So I'm a consistently show support. I'm a loyal defender of Maat. So I stand on that. So, to you brothers for y'all motivation and y'all inspiration and y'all support. And I love it, man. So keep inspiring and keep motivating me. Scribe, I did get a little DJ set because your music motivated me to get it. I love music, but it's the thing about it, like who it was, Roberto, said, it's a lot of cussing and it's no building. It's just, he says, I realize, what he say? I realize Black has the most cussing and most derogatory music out there. That's right. It's ignorance. We promote ignorance. Like Ahati said, you don't stand for something, you fall for anything. Also, before we end, I want to share everybody. This is a book here that you guys could get and check out in relation to. This is another thing that motivated my presentation. Called Medical Apartheid. I don't know if you can see the cover. It's called Medical Apartheid, and it talks about.
Put it in front of your shirt. Yeah, there you go.
It's called Medical Apartheid. It's the dark history of medical experimentation on Black Americans from colonial times to the present by Harriet A. Washington. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I remember when I heard Saba on the other show, and they would say, I had got to a point where any book anyone said, I didn't care what it was, I was writing it down. I was trying to get it because I was starting to pay attention to the Natiru sending me signs. I just didn't know it was the Netter, and I just didn't know, how we say the universe sending me signs and stuff like that. So that was a conscious decision that I had made to where anytime, especially around our people, because the reality is our people we don't read. We don't talk about books. So, you'll be with a bunch of people and they won't talk about one book they read or nothing that it'll all be isfet, So it was real easy to, when I started getting around brothers that were talking about books and stuff like that, it was like, okay, this is for me. I need to write this down. I need to know this. You know what I mean? Why am I hearing what Mary? When I wrote down Miriam, I didn't even know what it was. I was like, Miriam, Litcham. I was at the gas station, man, gassing up the van, and I wrote that down, ancient literature of ancient Egypt. But I heard Saba say those names, and I started writing it down, and it just resonated with my soul, man. So, here I am. So welcome Primordial Thought, my brother, and welcome everybody in the chat. Like I say, that supports. We appreciate all the support, and this has been a beautiful, excellent show. Man, so continue to support the truth. When you look in the mirror, who do you support? The truth of the lie.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic words, both of you great brothers. It's one brother Atef, you are a pure example of what it means to be completely solidified and confident in who you are, and I use you as a real life example a lot of the times to represent that and what it means to be confident in who you are, right, and to represent that truth and to really lead with your left, lead with your Eve. So, doing, my great brother. I know you say you don't know what you're doing. But I think everyone who watches you doesn't get that from you at all. And it seems like you know exactly what you're doing. And that's the beautiful thing about it. That's the beautiful picture that you paint, and you do it well. And that really showcases the skill set of what a master is, because you don't know when you bring forth and you put yourself in front of people, and unless you say it, no one doesn't really know. and that's a real skill set. So shout out to you, great brother. We did get a support in. I do want to show that before we start to close out. Again, the great brother Nook Poo, who sends 333. All right, sound like someone got their head busted with some glass on that one. Shout out to you, great brother Emmanuel Rodriguez, Nook Poo.
Yeah, shout out to you for the support, my brother. We appreciate the support.
And I want to show, of course, before we close out, our Rumble. Be sure you go over here to our Rumble. Link is in the bio, and follow us on here. And because we will start going live on here as well, and posting videos on here as well. So support us here on Rumble. It's a great platform. So be sure you go here as well to show your support. teachingsofmaat.org, teachingsofmaat.com as well. This has all of our access to everything that we're doing here. So the home website, the YouTube, Tehuti podcast, our TikTok, Twitter, our Spotify podcast, the Rumble, the Discord, SoundCloud music and audio books, and also our Cash App, PayPal, and Ethereum wallet address. So pass this out to people. You know, when you talk to people, as you're getting your knowledge up, and like, hey, just teachingsofmaat.org, and it'll lead you directly to Tehuti pod class and our class here on Sundays and everything else that we offer. So put this out everywhere, right? And we have our merch as well. So that's another great way. That's another fantastic way to put the T.O.M out there to showcase, because I know every time I'm out and I'm wearing the T.O.M merch, someone always asks me, what is that? Right? So it's a great way to build a bridge, right? And walking around with these logos, right? The divine word, the meta netter, these symbols, today called sigils. These represent an energy form, and they're conscious in itself. So when you walk around with this, you're walking with the energy of the Tehuti pod class and the teachings of Maat, which is supreme consciousness, right? So it's very powerful. So be sure to support in this way as well, in all sizes, of course. So support us with this. You can also add a custom line across the back side of your shirt, your name, your RIN, if you want, or a phrase that you want to represent. You want people to see as they're looking at you. You're walking the opposite direction. People are looking at you, and all that is planting seeds, right? So you become a walking advertisement for Maat, and it's an excellent way to, create conversation with people. So be sure to support in that as well.
Come join us. teachingsofmaat.org.
Come join us. This is something beautiful that we're building. Never been done before. Will never be done again. And be a part of it. Make history with us. And I look forward to all the new people coming in the Discord family as well. New people coming there. Our subscriber list. The people leaving comments on our videos that reach our content through the algorithm and has never heard of Maat or never heard of Tehuti podcast. There's brand new people who come who's never heard of any of this information. So shout out to all of you. Shout out to all the great, consistent people who show up each and every week and support us in the ways that you do. Shout out to all the active members, all the non-active members, the volunteers. Shout out to everyone. So with that being said, I'll just say peace and light. Hotep Maat to everyone. Fantastic presentation. Next week, it's on me. So we'll be bringing forth some beautiful information for you all, as we always do. So shout out to the great brothers on the panel here. Hinu to you, Atef, Rem Kim Maat. Hinu to you, Menkhu Ara Meri Maat. Hinu to you, Ahati Maat, and Hinu to you, Primordial Thought 9. Hail you, great brothers, for showcasing and leading by example and bringing forth the necessary courageousness that our brothers need to really emanate. We've been tucked away. This internet age is causing a lot of our warriors to be tucked away and scared. So shout out to you, great brothers, for showing what it's like to be the bull, to be the Ka, and coming forth and presenting who you are to the forefront. Shout out to all the great people in the chat room. Peace and love to you all. May you all have a fantastic week. MetaNetter Mondays as well. So be sure you are a part of MetaNetter Mondays. If you're not, you're missing out on so much beautiful information. There's so much that Saba Tehuti breaks down for us, that brings to light for us, and the language is so beautiful. I mean, it's the more you learn, the more you're able to recognize and see in your reality around you. The more you're able to see things that are hidden and that have always been in your face, right? You see where things come from. You understand that how important it is to be conscious of what it is that you're saying, the vibrations that come from your vocal box, right? That ultimately comes from your eve and from your heart. So depending on how you speak, that goes to show the level or the type of frequency that resides within your heart, within your eve. And the MetaNetter showcases that brilliantly. It's so deep. Anybody who's into any type of studies when it comes to being a part of whatever the people think that people don't understand, man. This language is so deep and it's so beautiful and it's so healing. And it's the origin, right? So be a part of MetaNetter Monday. Email mysticaltelevision@gmail.com. It's 1 p.m. Pacific time every Monday. And if you can't be there live, you can still reach out to Saba Tehuti and say, hey, I would like the recording. And you can also get the recordings as well. And keep that in your digital library and upgrade your level of knowledge and consciousness. All right. So peace and love to all the great people. Hotep Ma'at. Be sure to document, write down your goals that you want to achieve for this week. Write it down, read it before you go into the dream realm, into your rest. Take that consciousness with you. Don't fall asleep on your phone scrolling through whatever social platforms you on, watching TV. Read the MetaNetter, read your affirmations, read what it is that you want to bring forth as you go to sleep. Wake up with that. Allow your consciousness to create that reality for you. You have to program your subconscious to where you don't even have to think about it or try to do it. You plant that seed and you keep that within you at all times, and it'll automatically start to manifest or create itself or erect around you. And so I hope you all take that with you and utilize that. Peace and love. May you all have a great week, and Hotep Ma'at.
Peace, Hotep. Menkhu, you got some closing words, brother?
No closing words.
What about you, Ahati?
No, I'm good, brother.
Shout out to you, good brother. Primordial Thought, you want to close this out, my brother?
Hey, Hotep to all you brothers. Appreciate everybody in the chat. I appreciate all the love. Those are some good words, Ani. I'm definitely going to take that in for sure. But I appreciate y'all, man. Y'all have a good one.
Peace and love, Hotep Ma'at. Peace and love to everybody in the chat. We had a great show. I appreciate all the support, everybody. Teachings@maat.org. Come join us, like Ani said. Tehuti's podcast every Friday, 8 p.m. Pacific time. Monday MetaNetter class. Come join it. It'll change your life. I'm telling you. Y'all see what's going on up here. We building this thing brick by brick. So teachings@maat.org. With that, we will end, as we always do, with our beautiful affirmation. Hotep Maat. Peace and love to everybody in the chat. From tonight's teachings,
The truth that you do know, you are responsible for telling it and sharing it with your people. My mantra is very simple. I seek the truth. I speak the truth. I stand on the truth, and I stay with the truth. The truth does not need any defense.
Death culture, to be alive here, it's a lie here.
Unki and Maat, Un and S, Mentet or Set and Maat, Menhepapat and Maat, Her in UQE, Per EQ. I live for Maat. I exist within her. I do not speak in the place of Maat. Every day I advance towards Maat. My being is surrounded in darkness. I come forth as conscious light.
Go.
Come join us. teachingsofmaat.org.
Closed my eyes, then I woke up back in my bed. I could see my room as clear as looking through a lens. See, I thought I was awake, so then I tried to move, but my body shocked me like I was plugged in a socket. I started panicking and scrambling within my mental. I thought I died and now my body, I'm forever locked in. I was screaming, help me, someone help me please. But there wasn't any sound making it through my teeth. I could see movement in motion, shadows gather around me. How could I close my eyes already closed. Eating alkaline at this time, fasting reads so shocking. I was stuck in a paralysis, fear had me froze. It's time to shed. It's time to shed. I heard a voice in the back of my head. Rebirth, it's time to shed. It's time to shed. It's time to shed. I heard a voice in the back of my head. Rebirth, it's time to shed. I finally started waking up and coming back. I was in the opposite of state's effect. That's relaxed, I grabbed my phone and started to do research. Knowledge of what happened, I was in a lack. Insidious, the movie came direct to mind. Every time I seen this, it was connected to what's not divine. Demons crawling forcefully, holding the body down. Ain't no point in trying to scream, you will not make a sound. Deep within, I knew I made that a reality. The all is mine, I saw it, and so shall it be. I start replacing fear with knowing universe is mental. Talking to my subconscious to wake me up in dreams. Then one day my spirit guides came in so essential. Daylight's astral playing loud in my dream helped to set me free. I'm back in paralysis, laying on my couch. But this time I was calm, ready to exit out. It's time to shed. It's time to shed. I heard a voice in the back of my head. Rebirth, it's time to shed. It's time to shed. It's time to shed. I heard a voice in the back of my head. Rebirth, it's time to shed. From what I read, I need to move my arms in front of me. See a rope and pull it, separate and then release. Now I'm out, I see my house is gleaming, I accept it. Looking in the mirror, staring at my car's reflection. I was so ecstatic, flying in every direction. This was months of subconscious reprogramming and redirection. Place my thoughts in my body, wake up, that's what I did. I was reborn from that day so I could start to live. It's time to shed. It's time to shed. I heard a voice in the back of my head. Rebirth, it's time to shed.
But I can only show you the door. You're the one that has to walk through it.